All right, good morning, counsel. All right, record to reflect that the defendant is present before the court with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark and Mr. Darden. The jury is not present. Mr. Douglas, you had two matters you wanted to address the court on.
I would, Your Honor. I'd like to just state for the record that yesterday I turned over to the prosecution copies of two separate videotapes, which I believe completes my obligations of turning over copies of videotapes that we culled to create the montage of different crime scene contamination. This morning, Your Honor, though I had it yesterday, I forgot to turn it over. And I also turned over yesterday a statement of Reggie McKenzie, which reflects a recent telephone interview. This morning, Your Honor, consistent with the court's orders, I turned over the statement of the Honorable Delbert Wong, and I also turned over an updated supplemental witness list, primarily including those DNA people that had been inadvertently admitted from the earlier list. And Dr. Fishman and Dr. Reichart and Howard Weitzman are included on the names on that list.
All right.
The second matter deals with, Your Honor, as will likely be the case each evening when I return from court, or when we return from court, we have conversations with Dean Ullman and Professor Dershowitz, and I had conversations with them both last night and again this morning. And a couple of points Professors Dershowitz and Ullman spoke to me about that they wanted me to stress to the court. And that deals with, Your Honor, the state of the current record as a result of a decision that I think, with all due respect, was made incorrectly concerning the implications of having excised a portion of Mr. Simpson's alleged statement about a polygraph. As the court understands, the statement about the dreams followed some reference to a polygraph. And under one particular scenario, Mr. Simpson is innocent, and the question is raised about taking a polygraph. And Mr. Simpson says, I'm innocent, but I'm wary about taking a polygraph because I've been having dreams about killing Miss Nicole. Assume for the sake of my arguments that that is an accurate reflection of what occurred. The statement about, and that it was jokingly made, as Mr. Shipp suggested, and in fact, he also says that there was a chuckle before talking about the dreams. When the statement is taken in that context, in the context of reference to a polygraph, it says, I'm innocent, but I'm afraid to take a polygraph because I've been having these dreams, and I'm afraid that these dreams may cause there to be a false positive reading on the polygraph. And that's why I'm afraid to take a polygraph. That is an explanation that is very consistent with innocence, and that would have enabled us to argue a theory that would have been consistent with Mr. Simpson's innocence. The way that the record unfolded, however, is far more sinister. And as the court will recall, there was first a question that was asked of Mr. Shipp, that Mr. Simpson raised the issue of DNA. Then Mr. Darden led him and said, what was Mr. Simpson's next response? And the statement was, well, he said that I've been having a lot of dreams about killing Nicole lately. Now, Your Honor, because we have had...
I don't think that was precisely what he said.
Well, the statement about the dreams followed the statement about the DNA. And the question was, how did he respond? Or what was the next statement that was made in response? And there was this immediate linkage of the dreams to the DNA. My concern and my problem, and Professor Dershowitz and Ullman's problem, is that now a statement that we could have possibly interpreted for the jury in a manner that would have been consistent with innocence is now going to be given to the jury in a manner that makes it very sinister and very foreboding. And that just causes to exemplify, if you will, the rich prejudice that has flowed from the fact that the polygraph information has been withdrawn, and from the fact that there has now been this incorrect, if you will, linkage. In essence, Your Honor, it is a false linkage because the statement of the dreams did not immediately follow the statement of the DNA.
All right, let me ask the reporter. Madam Reporter, when do you anticipate the transcript from yesterday, the precise language, will be available? All right. All right, it's being put together? All right.
I now have a quandary, Your Honor. I am not prepared to waive references to a polygraph or conversations about polygraph because I fear that even though Mr. Simpson, through his attorney on June the 15th, wrote a letter offering or accepting the invitation for a polygraph, so long as the results were admitted into evidence, that opens up an entire can of worms that in consultation with my colleagues we've chosen not to want to get into. But I have a quandary, and the typical resolution of my problem, which might be to offer a limiting instruction, creates other problems because what it serves to do is to merely highlight the offending relationship about which I complain. I think what has occurred, however, is that an untenable situation has been created.
All right, Mr. Douglas.
An untenable situation has been created, and I think it should be corrected. I think that it should be that I should be allowed clearly to state or to ask Mr. Shipp that in truth and in fact, the statement about the dreams did not follow the statement about DNA. That when he said yesterday that it did, that was untrue. And I think...
He didn't say that it did. The order of questions was that gave that inference.
I believe, Your Honor, it even stronger than that, and I would like to wait for the court to just make specific reference to the record first.
All right. All right, Ms. Clark, as to that issue.
As to that, that's ridiculous. The witness was ordered not to say anything about the reference to the polygraph, and now we're going to give an instruction to the jury that for following the court's orders, he's going to be called a liar? That's absurd. He was ordered to excise that portion of his statement, and that is what he did at the court's order.
Well, I think what Mr. Douglas is saying is that there's an inference that one is linked with the other. I agree with your point that the instruction that something was not true is a bit strong. It's just that the testimony may have left that inference, which is not correct, that there was something that intervened between those two events.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right, which I think you can either clear up on redirect or on during cross, however you wish to do that. Counsel, while you're at it, while we're talking about this particular subject, would you, next time we have a break, read the case of State versus White at 271 North Carolina 391. I'm sure your research attorneys can get it off Lexis. It's a 1967 opinion from the North Carolina Supreme Court.
Pertaining to this?
Pertaining to admissibility of statements regarding dreams and the impact. 271 391. 156 Southeast 2nd, 721. I'll have one of my law clerks make a photocopy. I have the Lexis version of it. You might want to take a look at this.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Certainly.
Counsel makes a great deal of the inference he would like the jury to draw from this statement. That's fine. The jury can draw whatever inference they want to from it. It happens very often that statements and evidence are submitted to the jury from which they can draw one of two or three or more inferences. In this particular case, I think that the inference that counsel seeks to have the jury draw is unreasonable. The actual inference that should be drawn, even if you put the polygraph statement back in, is that it's an alibi. It's an excuse for not wanting to take the polygraph in the sure knowledge that he will flunk it. And as a matter of fact, although counsel makes much of a letter that they sent, what they actually indicated in the letter was that they would consider taking a polygraph if it were stipulated that the results would be deemed admissible, which they know cannot be done. However, in response to that letter, a phone call was made to counsel in which the counsel was invited to bring his client in for further questioning and declined to do so. So if counsel would like to, at this point, open that issue up, bring up the fact that there was an offer to take a polygraph that was actually conditional, and the fact that he was offered the opportunity to bring his client in for questioning and declined to do so. That's fine. We can put it all into context, and the people would not object to that.
But Mr. Douglas has already indicated it's their position that there are too many cans of worms there.
In that case, Your Honor, I think that the avenue that the court took was clearly the appropriate one. All that we have here is a statement that had some inadmissible reference that was excised from the admissible portion of the statement that is clearly an admission. I think that it's been the defense that has been complaining repeatedly throughout this trial that the people are seeking to relitigate rulings and come back and argue with the court about rulings. It has been the defense repeatedly that has done so and is doing so again.
Status of we're conducting the 403 foundational during the course of this as well. Don't forget.
Right, but that's not what counsel's argument pertains to, Your Honor. It's not a foundational issue that's being argued here. It's the admissibility that's being argued here. And I think the court has already resolved that ruling, at least I thought it had, and appropriately so. The thing about this statement is, Your Honor, and the reason that I wonder about the position that counsel is taking is that if counsel feels that the inference is actually one of innocence, then and can argue that to the jury, then obviously it isn't all that prejudicial because there are two inferences that can be drawn. The significance of dreams is not that we're saying literally, it's not even actually a hearsay issue. We're not asking for it to be accepted for the truth of the matter. It isn't that we contend that he's dreaming. It is that we contend that what he is saying is he's been thinking about killing her. And that is precisely what he's been charged with.
Are you saying it's something on the order, I've been dreaming of becoming a major league ball player? Something like that.
Counsel's free to argue that. That's not the inference that I think is reasonable. We think that the inference that is reasonable from this is more in the nature of I've been thinking about it, I've been thinking about doing this, and so I'm afraid that I'll flunk the polygraph. It's an excuse for not taking the polygraph. It's an excuse for failing the polygraph. That's the people's position. And I think that's the reasonable inference that a common sense, common thinking person would draw from this. But counsel can argue to the contrary, and that's why the prejudice does not exist. Counsel is very free to argue to the jury that it's in the nature of what the court has said. Right. I dream. But in fact, I think Walt Disney said it best in, I think, what was it, Sleeping Beauty? A dream is a wish your heart makes. And that's what this defendant was talking about. This is something that he thought about and something that he wanted to have happen. That's another inference that can be drawn. But, the fact that there are multiple inferences that can be drawn, Your Honor, I think is what allays so much the prejudice that counsel is referring to. Subject to interpretation. That doesn't mean it doesn't come in, obviously. Many things come in that are subject to interpretation. The court is very well aware of that. And this is another one. But if the court would like, we will go and read the case that pertains to this and argue it later.
All right. I'm just giving you the invitation to do that. Okay. As soon as I get the text of what was actually said.
I believe that what was actually said was that, and I think I recall this pretty accurately, that Mr. Shipp indicated that the defendant kind of laughed and said, I have had some dreams about killing her. And I think that does mitigate. But if the court would like, there can be an indication through the testimony of the witness that there were intervening remarks made, that the reference to DNA was not immediately precedent to the remark about having dreams.
All right, well, let me find the text here.
Okay.
And we'll see. All right, Mrs. Robertson, while we're waiting, would you make 2 photocopies of this case for me, please? Thank you. I thought Mr. Douglas was handling this issue. What is that, sir?
It has to do with matters.
Sure.
I'm mindful of the one lawyer per side. Mr. Douglas will respond to Ms. Clark. I would like, however, at the appropriate time, if we have a few minutes, to make a phone call. I need to talk to Professor Dershowitz with regard to this whole issue that she raises about the polygraph and the letter that was sent by Mr. Shapiro. And I would need a few minutes to be able to. And the evidence never responded. So they never responded to the letter. They can talk about any conversation they want to.
No, objection. Counsel was not on the case at the time.
It doesn't matter. The letter wasn't responded to, but I was on the case or not. I lived in Los Angeles at the time.
Excuse me, Ms. Clark.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
So
Both sides.
what I'm asking, Your Honor, is that at the appropriate time, if I can have a few minutes to call Professor Dershowitz and Professor Ullman, I can make a final decision with regard to our view on the polygraph. That's all I'm asking.
All right. Yeah, I'm waiting for the passage. Mr. Hill, why don't you give me the transcript? Chris? Reference to page 12779. And in fact, before I read this to you, let me now everybody's disappeared. Ms. Scalinas, would you come up here, please?
Your Honor, should the witness be excused while we're discussing this testimony?
Yes. Unfortunately, I erased my computer from yesterday, since I have the hard copy. And while we're waiting for the photocopies, counsel, yesterday, it was brought to my attention that there were certain things going on out in the audience and inside the bar that were brought to my attention. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, let me remind you that any reaction, gestures made during these court sessions, especially while the jury is here, those activities are inappropriate and will result in your expulsion from the courtroom. Also, I was shown a videotape of counsel inside the bar making similar reactions, gestures, facial expressions to the testimony that are inappropriate. And I'm cautioning counsel as well, and I have that on videotape. So counsel are cautioned and staff are cautioned as well. That's a caution. One, 2, 7, 7, 9, and 8, 0. All right, counsel, do you have the text before you, starting at the relevant question and answering starts at roughly line 11 on 12779.
I think, Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
that my point is reflected by, if I begin reading from line 16, and at that time, did you know the correct answer to that question? The answer, I did not know the correct answer, but what I did say, I just off the cuff say 2 months. And what did he say in response to your indication that it takes DNA 2 months to come back? He kind of jokingly just said, you know, quote, to be honest, Ship, that's what he called me, Ship. He said, I've had some dreams of killing her. And the nature of Mr. Darden's leading question to direct the witness's focus away from the polygraph information improperly gave the inference that the dream sequence, or the alleged dream statement was made in direct response to the DNA statement, which is factually untrue. Even more gravely, Your Honor, I think that what...
All right, but Mr. Douglas, isn't this something that you can deal with on cross-examination?
Well, Your Honor, what I wanted to do in raising this was to clue the court beforehand that I intend to ask the witness that that statement, that alleged statement, was not in response to the DNA question.
That's what I mean by cross-examination. I agree with you that question, the way it was phrased, creates a inference that is not accurate.
Your Honor, there is even... One moment, please. The difficulty that I have, Your Honor, that Mr. Cochran has reminded me is Mr. Ship is not a friendly witness, and Mr. Ship may well blurt out something that might be improper or that might be untrue.
Well, counsel has to be very careful in the way one questions, but were I in your place, I would ask Mr. Ship, I would read to him the testimony that we've just discussed and ask him, isn't it a fact that between the discussion of DNA and between this alleged statement regarding a dream regarding killing his wife, there was a discussion of another topic in between. Isn't that correct? That's how I would ask that question.
But I would also like to ask the question that when you testified yesterday that the alleged dream question or the statement was made in response to the DNA, that was not true.
Your Honor, that's...
All right. Ms. Clark?
That's very unfair.
Why? It was your question that led to that.
But it was our question at the court's order. The
No,
court
it
ordered
was
that...
your question. Here's the problem. Ms. Clark, if you read the question, and what did he say in response to your indication that it takes 2 months for DNA to come back? Wouldn't the more accurate way to do this would be to say, was there a conversation about something else in between without telling us what that was? Answer yes. Then was something else mentioned? Answer yes. What was that? But the way the question is phrased, it implies, and in fact it says, and what did he say in response to your indication that it takes DNA 2 months to come back?
This was done, Your Honor, in an effort to comply with the court's order to excise the reference to the polygraph and to... I understand what the court is saying, perhaps...
Do you agree it's done inartfully?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I concede that, Your Honor. I do. No. Well, I conceded because it wasn't my question. No, I did. I'm just kidding.
All right.
I agree with the court.
All right.
Yeah, that it could have been better done and should have had some indication in it there was something in between. The problem that I would like to point out to the court is that we're giving the impression that the witness was untruthful when all the witness was doing was attempting to follow the orders of the court and to respond to the question that was asked. And so to leave the jury with the impression that he was willfully untruthful about something that he was confined by questioning to is unfair, and it's a misleading impression to give.
Well, the problem I have, Ms. Clark, is that the impression was created by the way the question was phrased.
Well, may I pose to the court another alternative, which would also protect counsel from anything being blurted out, is that perhaps the jury could be instructed that there was conversation in between the DNA statement and the discussion of dreams.
No, then the court would be expressing an opinion as to what did or did not happen, which the court is not inclined to do in this particular
How would
situation.
that, well, Your Honor,
Here's the problem. You've got an imprecise question. Cellophane is a no-no, counsel. All right. You've got an imprecise question that created this inference. I think they're entitled to cross-examine on that. You can come back and clarify.
but you're punishing.
I'm not punishing anybody, Ms. Clark. I didn't ask the question. The code section clearly says we cannot discuss polygraph, period. If you want the statement in about the dreams, you have to tailor the testimony in your questioning to avoid that. It was done in an imprecise way. It created an inference that's not true, at least based upon the statement that you have. So how can I instruct the jury that something, to instruct the jury as you request would be for me to assume that certain facts are true, which is not my job in this case. All I do is referee the disputes. This inference was created. They're entitled to cross-examine on it.
And leave the impression that the witness was untruthful, when, in fact, the witness was not at all. Is that the cure?
Ms. Clark, the problem wasn't created by the defense. They're going to take advantage of an imprecision in the way the question was asked. You can come back on direct examination and clean that up.
The court is in essence saying that two wrongs make a right. I'm not saying that our question was not inartfully phrased, because it was. But to come back and then create more misimpression, through cross-examination that's misleading, is not fair either.
Well, what's true is for the jury to decide.
Right, but they have to be given the facts in order to do that. And if we give them misimpressions and misrepresentations, they have no
It's their job to
hope.
determine what the facts are.
Yes, but they have to get the truth in order to do that. They have to get the true state of affairs in order to make a fair judgment. And
Well,
if
that's what we're trying to find out, is what the truth is, Ms. Clark.
I agree, Your Honor. There's no question about that.
All right.
But
It's a very difficult situation that you'll just have to handle and redirect. And I know Mr. Douglas is going to accept the court's observations as to how to do this.
and I ask then that counsel at least not be permitted to frame it in such a way as to make it sound as though the witness lied when he answered the question that was phrased in a manner that could be construed, because there was very little in between those two things, as the court knows. It's not very far off. We know that the polygraph reference is taken out, but to allow counsel now to question the witness and essentially ask, isn't it true that you lied when you said it was in response to the DNA, it was in response to the DNA answer, is false, is completely false.
But the problem is that the question is, quote, and what did he say in response to your indication that it takes DNA 2 months to come back? He kind of jokingly just said, to be honest, Ship, that's what he called me, Ship. He said, I've had some dreams of killing her. Is that accurate?
Why not? No. That's right. Your Honor, I can't admit it too many times. It could have been better, could have been more precise, and
So
I
Mr.
wish it
Douglas
had
is
been.
entitled to say, isn't this statement incorrect? Wasn't there a conversation, a subject discussed, and without telling us what that is, in between DNA and this discussion about dreams? Answer, yes. So when you said that this statement was made in response to the question about DNA, that was not a truthful answer, correct? That's correct.
But that's not correct. because the witness was not willfully false. The witness was responding to a question that attempted to address the issue before the court. It would be truthful to
Ms.
say
Clark, I
there's-
understand your position very clearly, but the problem is, the problem was created by the way the question was phrased. That's the problem.
And why don't we cure it with the truth, Your Honor? Why not let the witness testify to the fact that he was ordered not to testify to certain things by the
We're about to start
court?
this circle one more time.
No, I mean, really, why not tell the truth? The witness was ordered not to discuss certain things by the court, and those certain things came in between the reference to DNA and the reference to the dreams.
All right, so you can bring that up during the course of your redirect. All right, thank you, counsel. Any other conundrums?
Your Honor, we have frequently attempted to abide by the rule that when the court rules, and doesn't allow the other side to come back and whine or to try to change the court's ruling. I would hope that everyone would appreciate the spirit of that ruling.
Thank you.
He just violated it.
Well, counsel, let's stop that. I'm just an overly patient person, and I'm willing to listen to what most everybody has to say. All right, anything else before we invite the jurors to join us?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right, let's have the witnesses and the jurors, please. All right, let the record reflect that we have been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Shipp, would you please resume the witness stand? All right, good morning, Mr. Shipp. You're reminded that you were still under oath. Mr. Douglas, do you wish to continue your cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would. Mr. Shipp, when you testified yesterday, you mentioned that you would be bringing today the contract that you had had with Ms. Sheila Weller.
Yes, sir.
Why don't we have a photocopy made, and we'll agree that the photocopy will be the court's exhibit.
For the record, Your Honor, I've been given a one-page document. Go to the counsel.
I take this is going to be 1001?
1001, Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Shipp, you were...
Mr. Carter, why don't you give that to Mrs. Robertson so everybody can have a copy of it?
Sure, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Shipp, you were employed by the Los Angeles Police Department for about 15 years,
Yes, I was.
and one of the duties of a Los Angeles Police Department officer is to testify in courts. True?
That's correct.
In fact, before you were able to begin working as a patrol officer, you had to go through the police academy.
Yes, I did.
And there were classes and training sessions educating the recruits about how to testify in court.
This is true.
over the 15 years that you've testified in the past as a police officer,
Objection, Your Honor, that sends it back now.
Overruled.
over the 15 years that you've testified as a police officer, you've testified in jury trials and then you've testified in front of the courts without a jury.
Yes, I have.
And if you were to estimate the number of times that you've testified under oath, that number would be in the hundreds. Wouldn't you agree?
In 15 years, I've worked various assignments. I was not always in patrol. I worked some undercover. I worked juvenile division. So maybe out of the 15 years, I had approximately 7 or 8 years of actual patrol time. And the only time I ever testified or went to court was when I was working patrol.
But wouldn't you agree that you've testified over 100 times in the past?
Maybe not that much.
What would be your estimate of the number of times you've testified in the past?
Approximately 50 to 60.
So you would estimate that you would testify no more than 7, 8, or 9 times per year for each of the 7 or 8 years that you were on patrol.
If that much.
Certainly you would agree that you were somewhat comfortable sitting in the witness stand from your past experience.
It depends sometimes. I was. If I was in traffic court, I don't know why I used to write lousy tickets, so sometimes I get a little nervous.
Now, Mr. Shipp, when we left off yesterday, we were talking about your alcohol problem. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you said that you no longer have an alcohol problem, didn't you?
That's correct.
Now, your alcohol problem started when?
When I was a police officer.
About what year did the problem start?
I'd say it probably kind of got out of hand, I think around maybe 83.
And you believe that your alcohol problem ended when?
Probably when I left the police department.
Which would have been 89.
89.
Now, as a result of your alcohol problem, you were suspended for 30 days as a police officer, weren't you?
Your Honor,
No, I was not.
I would object at this time. May I approach this item?
Yes, with the court report, please. All right, thank you, counsel. Mr. Douglas, you may resume.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I have that last question reread, please?
Now, as a result of your alcohol problem, you were suspended. You had a suspension for 30 days as a police officer.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that I'm withdrawing my objection to that question.
Noted.
And your answer to that question is, sir?
No.
You were suspended for 30 days while you worked at the academy, were you not?
No, I was not.
Wasn't there occasion, sir, when you came to the academy with alcohol on your breath?
Yes, there was.
Didn't you receive a discipline as a result of that conduct?
Yes, I did.
What was that discipline?
I received 15 days suspension.
What year was that?
It was 1988, I believe.
What happens to you, sir, when you get intoxicated?
Objection, irrelevant, Your Honor.
Sustained.
When you are under the influence of alcohol, does it tend to affect your ability to recall?
Same objection.
Sustained.
On June 13th, 1994, you were drinking at Mr. Simpson's house.
No, I
weren't
was
you?
not.
Do you recall, sir, an occasion when you were seated, withdrawn? Inside Mr. Simpson's home, there's a bar area, isn't there?
That is correct.
And the bar area is an area where the TV console is also set up.
That's
True?
correct.
And when you were present on June 13th, there were other members, as we said, of Mr. Simpson's family that were there as well. True?
That's correct.
Mr. Simpson's sisters were there.
Right.
There were individuals such as Joe Stellini that was there.
Right.
There was a person by the name of Peter Bort that was there.
Ah, yes, Peter was there. That's right.
And
How do
you were
spell Bort?
B-O-R-T, I believe, Your Honor.
Right.
And there was an occasion when you were seated at the bar area with Mr. Simpson's sister, Carmelita. Do you remember that?
On this particular night,
Yes,
the 13th?
correct.
No, I was not.
And do you remember, sir, that while you were seated near the bar with Mr. Simpson's sister, she asked if you wanted a drink?
Objection,
We
Your
just
Honor.
asked
In fact,
me.
not in evidence that it was seated at the bar.
Sustained.
Let me try to refresh your recollection. Do you recall a conversation where she asked you if you wanted a drink and you said, no, but I'll have a beer?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is vague as to time.
Overruled.
You may answer.
In fact, it's not in evidence.
I recall a conversation, but not on the 13th.
Okay. When do you recall that conversation having occurred?
Either the 14th or the 15th. I had no drinks whatsoever on the 13th. None.
While Mr. Simpson was in the home as well?
Pardon me?
This conversation that you had with Carmelita was while Mr. Simpson was also at his home, correct?
No, he was not. He left Tuesday morning.
Because Mr. Simpson wasn't home Tuesday morning, true?
He left Tuesday morning.
And when you were there during the rest of the week, what service were you rendering?
Assistance to the family?
Were you acting as like security?
No, not at all.
So it's your recollection that this conversation that you had with Carmelita and you took a beer was not on the 13th.
It was not on the 13th.
And what day do you recall that it was?
I was either the 14th or the 15th.
Okay.
I was there every day that week.
Now, when you are under the influence of alcohol, do you have occasion to visit people unannounced?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. And you have, while under the influence of alcohol, visited people unannounced, even last year. True?
Last year?
Correct.
You have to refresh my memory on that one.
Let me try to do that.
Before he does that, Your Honor, that's irrelevant. Objection.
Sustained. Well, actually, no, overruled. He's testified to
Correct.
the length and breadth of alcohol abuse.
When you say, Mr. Shipp, that you didn't have a drug problem, an alcohol problem after 1989, are you saying by that you have not been drunk since 1989?
No, I'm saying, to me, a drinking problem, and let me explain this. You know, when I did have a drinking problem, I was the one that told myself, according to all my friends and family, everybody was shocked. It was me. It was my standards.
I respect that, but my question is, you still have gotten drunk since 89, haven't you?
I'd say yes.
In fact, July of 1994, you got drunk, and 1 o'clock in the morning, you started banging on the door of Kathy Randa, disturbing her neighbors, didn't you?
Your Honor, that's irrelevant. It's beyond the date of the murder. It's beyond the conversation you had with the
Sustained.
May I put you on to link it up?
So way past the dates here.
Your Honor, it's part of a continuing pattern, I suggest.
Briefly.
Very well.
It's like you say we're going to the sidewalk.
No.
You do recall that incident, do you not?
Oh, yes, I do.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, roughly around there.
You created a disturbance?
No, I did not.
Neighbors had to come out to restrain you?
Neighbors were already out when I got there.
Isn't it true, Mr. Shipp, that as a result of your banging on Miss Randa's doors, her neighbors came out of concern?
No, they were already, Kathy had told me they had been watching out for her for the whole week because all the different news people were trying to hang out and bother her.
Now, when you were drunk in July of 1994, was that a result of the turmoil that you talked about yesterday?
Just about everybody that came to that house was drunk during that time.
And you were drunk again on another occasion when you came by Miss Randa's home. Isn't that true? In August of 94?
Your Honor.
August of 94?
Let's approach the sidebar. I think we've... All right, thank you, counsel.
That in August of 1994, there was another occasion when you came over Miss Randa's house unannounced with alcohol on your breath?
No, that's not true.
It is true, is it not, that when you are under the influence of alcohol, your perception is altered?
Yeah, most people, I would
That
say.
your ability to recall facts and events is affected?
If you're drunk. I was drunk the night when I went over to Kathy's house, at 1 in the morning. I was.
Answer the question. Thank you, sir. Now let's talk about your career as a police officer. You testified that there were occasions when you would come by and speak with Mr. Simpson, true?
Yes, there were.
And you would come by his home while working for the Los Angeles Police Department.
Yes, I did.
And you'd come by in uniform,
Yes, I was.
in marked cars,
Marked cars?
correct?
Oh, marked black and whites. I'm sorry.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you would come by and basically show off your friendship to a Hall of Famer, true?
What I would do, I mean, yeah, that's true.
And you would try to impress your friends on the force that you knew O.J. Simpson and could come by his house, true?
Get autographs, pictures.
And you would often take your partners into Mr. Simpson's house to show off his Heisman Trophy that is displayed there,
Sure
wouldn't
did.
you?
Yes, I did.
And you'd also take him to his magnificent trophy room and show all of those championship footballs that he had on display.
I did.
And you would also show off the Walter Camp trophies and the other trophies that were prominently displayed in his trophy room, wouldn't you?
All the trophies, everything you had there.
And in fact, you would even go back, and you went back last year to have Mr. Simpson sign footballs for some friends of yours.
Yes,
True.
I did.
You said that there may have been as many as 40 different officers that on one time or another you brought to Mr. Simpson's home, correct?
Over a 5-year period. Correct.
How many times did you bring Mark Furman by?
Mark Furman? Never.
It was well known at the West Los Angeles Division when you were there.
Objection. Objection to form of the question.
Well, let's hear the question.
Thank you. Because you brought so many police officers by Mr. Simpson's home to show off Mr. Simpson and his trophies, etc., it was well known, wasn't it, at West Los Angeles that O.J. Simpson lived within the jurisdiction of that division?
Very much.
Okay. Now, you left the police force in October of 1989, didn't you?
That's correct.
And when you left, you had plans to further your acting career, didn't you?
Well, I left, to be perfectly honest, and my wife have verified, some of my family, I was burned out. I didn't know what the heck I was going to do, but I left the job because I was burned out.
Didn't you leave voluntarily?
Oh, yes, I did.
And didn't you have conversations after you left with Mr. Simpson with perhaps using Mr. Simpson's influence to kick off your acting career?
Can I answer this fully?
Can you answer that yes or no?
No.
Okay. At about the time that you left the police department, Mr. Simpson was the producer of a TV series, wasn't he?
When I left the police department?
Correct.
I'm not sure if it was canceled by then or not.
First and 10 was the series, was it not?
Yeah, he did have a series.
And in fact, Mr. Simpson was able to get you small roles on that series, wasn't he?
One role.
And you had wanted to try to obtain more and larger roles, didn't you?
It's not true.
Isn't it true, sir, that when your acting career floundered, you reapplied to work again with the police department, even though you had been so burned out, as you say?
I did. Okay, what happened was when I started a security
Question.
business, things didn't work out. Okay, things
Can I ask
didn't
you
work
this?
out.
It is true, even though you were so burned out with the police department, that you reapplied, correct?
Yes, I did reapply.
When was that?
Probably about a year afterwards.
Are you sure it was that long?
I can't remember. You have the dates. I'm
Sure,
not
I do. Wasn't it more like 4 months?
No, it wasn't 4 months. That I recall.
And isn't
No.
it true that even though you wanted to be, again, a member of the police department, they didn't accept you, correct?
This is true.
And isn't it true that they didn't accept you because of a substance abuse problem that you had?
No, not at all. It's not true.
Why were you told that you weren't accepted?
Because when during the time when I had the alcohol problem, I took stress leave, and I was told by the city attorney's office that I'd be at very high risk to come back to the LAPD
So they thought that you'd be unfit as an officer.
because of for the stress.
Let's turn our focus to a discussion of your conversations with the Simpson family in 1989. You mentioned that there was a time after the incident when you spoke to Mr. O.J. Simpson, correct?
Yes, correct.
And it's true, is it not, that O.J. took full responsibility for the problems that had occurred in '89 with his wife?
At one point, yeah, he did. He changed his mind the next day, but at one point he did.
Well, one more time. And other than withdrawn, Mr. Simpson spoke to you about how he wanted to publicly confess or publicly make a statement about the errors of his ways in '89. True?
Yes, he did.
Now, you were able to personally relate when he accepted responsibility for the incident in '89 because of your own problems. True?
Which problems?
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, please.
course of your conversation with Mr. Simpson, you recommended that Mr. Simpson see a particular psychiatrist, didn't you?
I sure did.
And that was a psychiatrist with whom you had personal information about, true?
That's correct.
And that was a psychiatrist with whom you yourself were treating, true?
Yes, that's true.
And Mr. Simpson attended his counseling sessions as far as you knew, true?
As far as I knew.
And as you would look back on Mr. Simpson's marriage with Nicole Brown Simpson, you would interpret that as being a good relationship, wouldn't you?
Totally. What I knew. In the past, you're talking about before 1989?
Well, in 1984, when you were giving a statement about Mr. Simpson's relationship with his wife while they were married, you described it as being a great relationship, a great marriage, didn't you?
That's correct, yeah. That I knew, yeah.
Now, we talked briefly yesterday about an occasion in June of '94 when you visited Mr. Simpson unannounced asking to use a jacuzzi with a friend. Recall that?
I did. That's totally false. Totally false.
Okay. There was an occasion when you came with a friend and asked to use Mr. Simpson's jacuzzi, correct?
Mr. Douglas, I hope you get your facts straight, okay?
Can you answer my question, Your Honor?
I went to play tennis, Mr. Douglas. I was playing tennis.
Do you
After the tennis game,
Hold on.
you're
Shipp.
attacking me. Let me answer
Hold on,
the
Mr.
question.
Shipp. Jury is to disregard
I'm
the
sorry.
last comments both by Mr. Shipp and by Mr. Douglas. Mr. Douglas, ask your question.
Thank you. Don't you recall an occasion when you called Mr. Simpson at about 10 o'clock in the evening and asked to use his jacuzzi? Do you recall that, sir? Yes or no?
No.
Do you recall after he let you use the jacuzzi that about 20 minutes later you called back and asked him to bring you a bottle of wine?
You
Do you
just
recall
said
that, sir?
10 o'clock at night. Didn't you say 10 o'clock at night?
I'm asking, do you recall when you called him back to ask to bring a bottle of wine down to you in the jacuzzi? Do you recall that?
Can I have the times clarified, sir?
1994, June, if not May.
Well, June. I'm talking about the time, not the day, the time.
It was in the evening, Mr. Shipp. Do you recall that occurring?
I do recall that.
Okay. You were with a friend other than your wife, were you not?
Yes, I was.
She was blonde, was she not?
Who was a friend of my wife's. That's correct.
And you say her name is what?
Lisa Madigan.
Okay. Do you know someone by the name of Angela Spilker?
Angela Spilker.
Yes.
I can't recall.
You have worked in other jobs as an investigator, have you not?
Yes, I have.
And you have done investigative work for friends of Mr. Simpson's, have you not?
Yes, I have.
And there was an occasion when you were asked to look into the background of
Oh,
Angela
Angela.
Spilker.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Oh.
You're correct. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Of Tom
And-
McCullen.
Angela is a German woman, isn't she?
That's correct.
And she's about 6'1", isn't she?
I've never met the woman, but actually, no, I did. She was in a car. I served her, I think.
So you did meet her, right?
Yeah,
And
I did.
she's a tall blonde, isn't she?
She was in the car. I saw her for about 10 seconds.
And the only time that you've ever seen her was for those 10 seconds?
Yes, that's correct.
And Miss Spilker was not the person who was with you on this occasion when you asked for the bottle of wine?
No. I just gave you her name.
Now let's talk about this alleged conversation that you had with Mr. Simpson on the 13th. What time do you recall that you and he had this alleged conversation about the dream? What time in the evening was it?
I think it was maybe close. I remember like 11 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Do you recall telling Miss Weller that this conversation that you had was shortly past midnight on the 13th?
It could have been. That whole week kind of ran together.
Do you need to see something to refresh your recollection, sir?
Well, yeah, if you have it.
About the occasion when you and Miss Madigan were in the jacuzzi. You saw Mr. Simpson's daughter, Arnell, while you and she were in the jacuzzi.
That's correct.
True. Okay. And it was in June, wasn't it?
It was in June. I was disputing the time, not disputing the day.
I just want to refresh your recollection with a copy of Exhibit D1000. And I just want you to read to yourself the portion that I'm referring to, beginning on the bottom of page 8.
Okay.
After having read Exhibit 1000, is your memory now refreshed that it was just after midnight when you and Mr. Simpson supposedly went up to his bedroom?
I really don't think it was that late because I remember getting home roughly around 12:30, somewhere around there.
Well, do you remember that when you had an occasion to read the draft of Miss Weller's book, that the book had said just after midnight? Do you remember reading that?
I think, yeah, I think I pretty much
And you
did.
do remember that, as you said yesterday, the draft of the book was correct. True?
True.
And it is true, is it not, that your memory of these events was fresher during your conversation with Miss Weller in July or August than it is today?
I'd say you're probably correct.
Because your memory doesn't improve over time, does it?
No, it does not.
So if Miss Weller says that it was just after midnight, that's probably a better reflection of the time frame.
Well, like I said, I'm thinking about when I got home. I'm saying I got home around 12:30. It takes me 45 minutes, almost an hour to get home.
Now, after you and Mr. Simpson were upstairs, according to your version of this, Mr. Simpson began asking you a series of questions, you say. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you say, or is it your testimony that Mr. Simpson asked you about withdrawn? Is it your testimony that Mr. Simpson said that the police had told him about a bloody glove?
Could you repeat that again, please?
Sure. Did Mr. Simpson tell you that the police had told Simpson about a bloody glove?
That's correct.
And did Simpson tell you that the police had told Simpson about some cap that was found?
That's correct.
Did you know that during the entire time that Mr. Simpson was in the custody of the police officers on that day, that they never mentioned anything about a bloody glove?
This is a fact, not in evidence. The counsel's attempting to testify. Mr. Simpson was not in custody.
I can link it up, Your Honor, at the appropriate time.
I'm going to sustain the objection to the form of the question as being compound
Very well.
at this point.
Because it's compound.
Compound, it may also assume a fact that's not in evidence. When you use the term custody, that's a very fine term in our terminology here.
Your Honor, I just need to know the ruling so that I can change the question accordingly.
Rephrase the
Compound, I
question.
will rephrase it, certainly.
Rephrase the question.
Certainly. Did you know that nothing about a bloody glove was ever mentioned to Mr. Simpson by the police on June 13th?
Objection, Your Honor. This witness is not competent to testify to a conversation the defendant had.
Overruled.
Wasn't
That's a speaking objection, counsel.
You may answer.
I have no idea what the police had said they found. I'm just going by what O.J. mentioned to me.
So you didn't know that.
Have no idea what they found.
And you didn't know that nothing about any cap being recovered was ever mentioned to Mr.
I have
Simpson?
no idea.
If you knew that nothing about a bloody glove was ever mentioned to Mr. Simpson on the 13th by the police, would that cause you to maybe rethink your version of this conversation?
No, I know what I heard. No. No way.
Okay. Now, this alleged statement about a dream, you were asked about yesterday, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And you were asked yesterday whether Mr. Simpson allegedly made some statement about DNA coming back. True?
True.
And you were asked yesterday what Mr. Simpson said in response to your indication that it takes DNA 2 months to come back. Correct?
Correct.
And you responded that he kind of jokingly just said, you know, to be honest, Ship, I've had some dreams of killing her. That's what you said yesterday. True?
That's very true.
Isn't it more accurate, Mr. Ship, that Mr. Simpson never supposedly said anything about dreams in response to this question about DNA? True?
Can you repeat that question?
Sure. there was some other portion of a conversation that we're not going to go into that came between the statement about DNA that you had said and the statement that you say Mr. Simpson said about the dream. Isn't that correct? You can answer that yes or no. You can answer that yes or no.
That other statement you're talking about came first, if I'm not mistaken.
Before the DNA statement?
If I'm not mistaken.
Well,
I think that may have come first.
would you like to refresh your recollection as to the order of the conversation by reviewing again the statements attributable to you in Ms. Weller's book?
You may. That's 1001.
1,000. And I ask the witness simply to read it to himself so I can ask my next series of questions.
Yes. Okay.
After having reviewed the excerpt from this book, is your recollection now refreshed?
Okay, it's refreshed. That's correct.
And it's true, is it not, that even according to your version, this alleged statement about the dreams did not directly come in response to the alleged statement about DNA, correct?
That's correct.
There was something else that we're not going into that came between the two.
That's correct.
And when you responded and characterized Mr. Simpson's alleged statement about the dreams, you said that the statement was made jokingly, didn't you?
That's true.
Tell me everything that you saw that gave you an indication that the alleged statement was made jokingly.
Well, he just kind of said, you know, to be truthful, Ship, I've had dreams of killing her.
So he kind of chuckled.
Kind of chuckled, yeah.
Mr. Ship, when were you first informed by anyone representing the prosecution in this case that you would be called as a witness to testify in this matter?
Whenever Phil Van Adder I think it's probably the second time he visited my house, he said I possibly may be called. He didn't say I was actually going to be called.
And give me your best estimate of when it was that Phil Van Adder visited your house the second time.
Can you refresh my memory or someone as to when I met with Marcia and Mr. Darden?
I think you met with Marcia the first time in July
July?
of '94.
Okay, it was probably maybe about 2 or 3 weeks after that.
So 2 or 3 weeks after meeting with Marcia, Phil told you that you would probably be a witness in the case.
Yes, he did.
And did you then tell Phil, knowing that you'd be a witness in the case, about this conversation concerning the dream that supposedly occurred?
Oh, no, I didn't.
How many times after the first time that you met in Marcia's office did you have a conversation with anyone from the prosecution team?
I think I may have had several conversations, maybe 2, 3, maybe with Patty Fairbanks.
How many other conversations did you have with Phil Van Adder other than on the day when your statement was recorded?
Repeat that question?
How many conversations did you have with Phil Van Adder other than the day when your statement was recorded, transcribed?
1, maybe 2.
And they were both at your home?
One was at my home, and I think one other time I just called to ask him some kind of question.
Did you just say a minute ago that Phil told you that you may be a witness the second time that he came to your home?
That's correct.
When was the first time?
The first time he came to my home?
Yes.
First time he came to my home was when he brought a subpoena for the grand jury.
You did testify under oath in a grand jury proceeding.
That's correct.
When you testified at the...
Yes, with the court report, please. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take a brief 15-minute recess at this time. Please remember my admonition to you: don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions, or allow anybody to talk to you about the case. I'm going to ask you to step back into the jury room, please. All right, Mr. Shipp, you can step down. Let's have it quiet in the courtroom, please. We're still in session. We're changing paper.
Yes.
All right, let the record reflect the jury has withdrawn from the courtroom. Mr. Shapiro, good morning.
Yes, Your Honor. While you were directing your attention to counsel at sidebar, I was conferring with Mr. Simpson, and Mr. Shipp continually was staring at us, was mouthing some type of word in some type of attempt to either communicate with me or with Mr. Simpson, was making very unusual facial expressions that would go from a grimace to a smirk, and it was in front of the jury, and I found it myself to be very, very uncomfortable, and I tried to direct my attention away from him. And I wanted to call that to the court's attention.
All right. Ms. Lewis, you had a comment?
Your Honor, I have been sitting at the back of the courtroom in the smaller counsel table during the time that Mr. Shipp was waiting for the sidebar conference to finish. And what I saw was a witness who didn't know where to look. He didn't want to sit there and stare at the jury. He could not stare at the audience, so he was looking around, as is typical of a witness when the attorneys are at sidebar. I didn't see him make any unusual expressions other than those typical and consistent with a witness who is just trying to determine what to do while the attorneys are at sidebar.
All right, well, if we have any luck, maybe Court TV has had the focus on Mr. Shipp during that course. We'll see. All right, let's take a 15-minute recess. Taking care of open 111.
No, they're in the hearing, and I couldn't do it. I left Ms. Chapman. I'll go back hopefully to argue it.
All right, well, you know I very much appreciate your other obligations.
I certainly appreciate that, Your Honor.
All right, counsel, before we resume, I've been advised by members of my staff that they did in fact observe Mr. Shipp during the course of the sidebar conference make some gesture or attempt to communicate with the defendant, and when the jury comes out, I'm going to order them to disregard
Your Honor,
that.
I asked Mr. Shipp during the break if he mouthed something to the defendant while we were at sidebar, and he told me that, yes, in fact, he did, and I intend to ask him on redirect what it was, since it was done in the presence of the jury. We would like to, I'd like to ask the the jury saw it. I'd like to know what it is he said to him. I'd like him to know what it is he said to him.
I don't think that's proper, Your Honor. That's not evidence, and I think the court should simply admonish.
I'm going to admonish, and communications between a witness and a defendant during the course of the trial I don't think are relevant to anything unless there's something highly unusual. I'm not going to get into that in front of the jury. All right, let's have the jurors, please.
Did we learn what he said?
Okay, hold on. What did he say, Mr. Darden? What's your offer of proof?
He said, tell the truth.
I'd object, Your Honor.
That's exactly what I'm going to
Mr. Cochran, please. Thank you. All right, let's have the jury, please. All right, good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies for the delay in getting started again. However, when you have so many attorneys involved in a case, this, as you will find out, is not their only case that they have, and I allowed one of the attorneys to make a quick appearance in another courtroom in the courthouse, and that attorney was unfortunately delayed, and that was the reason for the longer continuance than I had anticipated. Also, during the course of the last sidebar discussion, it was brought to my attention that there appeared to be some communication or attempted communication between the witness, Mr. Shipp, and persons over at the council table. You were instructed to disregard any conduct that you see like that. It is obviously not evidence. I've instructed the witness not to do anything like that in the future, but please disregard anything that you see of that nature. All right, Mr. Douglas, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Shipp, do you know a woman by the name of Margaret Edwards?
Pardon me?
Do you know Margaret Edwards?
Margaret Edwards?
Yes.
A friend of my mom's?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I do.
I'm moving on. Establishing.
All right. He's indicated that's the only question he's going to ask. Overruled.
Now, Mr. Shipp, let's go back to when you had these series of meetings with Ms. Weller about this book. And based on your producing the document that is now listed as Exhibit 1001, the first of those meetings occurred on July 13th, did it not?
I think that's correct.
Okay. And you say that you had a series of 6 or 7 meetings that followed.
Approximately.
And each of the meetings occurred at Yamashiro's, a restaurant.
Most of them, I think, we may have had one, I think, at the bicycle shop on Wilshire Boulevard.
When you met at Yamashiro's, you say that you were eating hors d'oeuvres.
Yes, I think sushi or hors d'oeuvres or...
Were you also drinking?
No, didn't
Was
drink.
she drinking?
She had a glass of wine.
Now, it is true, is it not, that sometime in 1994, you and Kathy Randa went out for a quick bite, correct?
Probably several times. We hung out quite a bit.
What about the time when you and she hung out and she asked you to stop dropping...
Your Honor, calls for hearsay.
Goes to your state of mind, Your Honor.
352 objection.
All right, let's approach. All right, thank you, counsel. Mr. Douglas, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Shipp, as I was asking before the objection, do you recall an occasion in 1994 when you had a conversation with Kathy Randa and Miss Randa asked you to stop dropping by Mr. Simpson's home unannounced?
Never.
It didn't occur in April or May of 1994 over lunch?
No one has ever asked me to stop dropping by that house.
Okay. Let's talk about the nature of your relationship with Mrs. Simpson. You and she met before the Simpsons were married, correct?
Correct.
And you and she became close, correct?
Good friends.
In 1989, you said that you spoke to her almost daily at one period of time. True?
You mean after the
After the incident in 89.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And you continue to have conversations with her even after she and Mr. Simpson broke up, correct?
Yes, I did.
You would have occasions when you would visit her at her home on Gretna Green in Los Angeles, didn't you?
Twice. I think I was over there twice.
There were other occasions when you'd speak to her on the telephone, correct?
Correct.
You would speak with her when she moved to the location on Bundy, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You considered her a close friend.
Yes, I did.
During the course of their marriage, you never had an occasion to personally observe any arguments between Mr. and Mrs. Simpson, did
None
you?
whatsoever.
Isn't it true, sir, that you have in the past told Mr. Simpson's friend that if Mr. Simpson weren't around, you might have a shot at Nicole Brown Simpson yourself?
No, I did not.
You've never said that to any of Mr. Simpson's friends?
Excuse me for smiling, but no, I did not. I'm sorry.
It is true, though, that you had an occasion to see Mr. Simpson out publicly a week or two before the deaths, didn't you?
I sure did.
You saw him at a night spot that's called the House of Blues, didn't you?
Sure did.
He was there with his girlfriend, Paula Barbieri, wasn't he?
Correct.
They appeared to be happy to you, didn't they?
He did.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
Mr. Ship, you've been called just about everything in the book so far, haven't you?
Sustained.
You were subpoenaed to come here and testify, Mr. Ship.
Yes, sir.
You didn't get a lawyer and fight that subpoena, did you?
Overruled.
Well, I got a lawyer first, Robert McNeil, but I didn't fight it.
You knew when you received the subpoena that on an occasion in your life you had a drinking problem. You knew that.
Oh, correct.
Did you tell that to the defendant?
That I had a drinking problem?
Yeah.
I think I may have told Kathy Randa, and I think he knew.
And did you ever tell the defendant that you were suspended from the department for some days?
Oh, no. I don't think I told him that.
But you knew that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you knew Mr. Cochran was Mr. Simpson's attorney, right?
That's correct.
You knew they'd find out about that, didn't you?
Sustained.
You filed a stress claim or went out on stress at some point during your career with the LAPD?
That's right around the time when I had the incident, my one and only incident on the LAPD.
What brought about that incident?
I was just burned out being a cop. I was unhappy. And I guess I was just partying quite a bit.
And when you went to see Kathy Randa one night and beat on her door around 1 o'clock in the morning, what brought about that incident?
I had had some drinks, and I know Kathy was taking this real hard, and I felt really bad, and I wanted to go by there and just talk to her. And Kathy was the type of person, because Kathy also has had a drinking problem, and at times we used to reinforce each other. And she hadn't had any drinks that I recall during this whole time. that I recall. And I think I kind of went by there to go, hey, Kathy, whoops, here I am.
Were there other occasions during the time that you've known Kathy Randa in which you went to her house late at night?
Yeah, I used to, once again, here I was on patrol. I worked in North Hollywood Division, and she had problems with people, and I would go by there and check on her, and if I was off, I'd call other officers and say, would you go check on Kathy Randa? Because she had a problem with some drug people down the street. They were hanging out, her and her neighbors, and I had a friend of mine, a sergeant, go down there, or he was trying to meet with her.
And were there occasions when Kathy Randa would call you late at night and ask you to come over and help her with her drinking problem?
Well, Kathy, now she wouldn't really call me late at night, but there were times when she had her own problems where she had to take leave from Mr. Simpson's office. This is-
You can answer the question.
Well, she had her own problems. We had to take leave, and we were basically, Kathy and I at one time, of course, until the... We were very close.
Wait.
We would reinforce
Wait.
each other. I'm sorry.
Overruled. Answer will stand.
Now, whatever the problem was that Kathy Randa had, you know that problem. You know what that problem is.
Correct.
You see any need to tell the whole world what that problem is?
Not at all.
It's between you and she, isn't
It's
it?
between me and her.
You had a drinking problem and the defendant knew that,
Yes, yes, he did.
but you were still his friend.
Sure, of
He,
course.
he accepted you as his friend nevertheless, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, that's leading in speculation.
I think that's a conclusion that he can call. Overruled.
He accepted you as his friend even though you had a drinking problem, is that right?
Objection, Your Honor, compound.
Overruled.
I got drunk at OJ's wedding and made a fool out of myself. And he accepted me and thought it was a joke later on.
And you were good friends with the defendant, right?
Yes, I was.
Who arranged the security for Nicole Brown's funeral?
I did. I was contacted by Kathy, and I called a friend of mine who actually did the security. I mean, I didn't do it, but I called him, made the contact.
Did you attend the services at the church?
Yes, I did.
Not everyone was allowed admittance to those services, were they?
Oh, no, they weren't.
Were you admitted into those services?
Oh, yes, I was.
The defendant was there, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He didn't stop you from entering those funeral services for Nicole Brown, did he?
No, he did not.
You attended the defendant's wedding reception?
Yes, I did.
You discussed his problems, the problems he was having with Nicole when he beat her up in 1989? Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Those are the kinds of things that friends do, correct?
That's correct.
Sustained. Stricken. Jury disregard.
Yesterday, Mr. Douglas asked you if you'd ever had a meal with the defendant. You recall that?
Yes, I did.
Had you ever had a meal with the defendant in public?
Not prior to the 89 incident, just him and I know.
Did you have any meals in public with him after the 89 incident?
Yes, I did.
And when was that? When was the last time?
I had a meal with him on the set of Naked Gun 2.5 in front of everybody.
Were you scheduled to have lunch with the defendant on June 3rd, 1994?
I thought it was a dinner, but I guess if it was lunch, I do remember, yeah, we were scheduled.
Yeah, I have here what appears to be a Xerox copy of the defendant's personal calendar. And as we mark next in evidence, I believe that would be April 11th.
I would object, Your Honor, this were presented to this witness with this document.
All right, wait, proceeding objection, counsel, with the floor is please. All right, that item will be, however, marked Peoples 11. Excuse me, 12.
The defendant's calendar is marked People's 12, Your Honor?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Shipp, did you indicate a moment ago that you couldn't recall if it was a lunch or a dinner that you were
That's
scheduled
correct.
to have with the defendant?
I thought it was more of a dinner.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection if you looked at the defendant's personal calendar?
Sustained.
You told us that you are somewhat of an actor, is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you acting today?
I do a little extra stuff here every now and then.
Okay. So you do get some roles from time to time.
Yeah, I work with Idell. I'm registered with Orenthal James, and she gets me out every now and then.
Okay. Well, what about your presence here today on the witness stand and your testimony yesterday? Were you just acting here in court today and yesterday?
I'm not that good.
Mr. Douglas suggested that you might be attempting to enhance your public profile. You recall that yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Have you been contacted by hard copy?
No.
Have you been contacted by some of the tabloid television shows?
Yes, I have.
Which ones, if you recall?
Current affair.
Okay. Have you been contacted by the news media?
Yes, I have.
Do you recall which media entities?
2, 7. 2 and 7.
Have you been contacted by some of the paper tabloids?
None.
Have you contacted the tabloids?
No.
Have you contacted the news media?
No, I have not.
Have you offered to give anyone an interview relative to your information or your knowledge surrounding this case?
No, I have not.
You understand, sir, that you can make money doing that.
This is true.
You can get your picture in the paper and on television doing that.
Ruled.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
You're not a rich man, I take it.
Pardon me?
Are you rich?
No. I work for a property management company, and I'm very happy working there.
Well, why didn't you pursue some of these other directions? You know, one of these directions where you might provide the information you gave us here in court today and get paid a hefty sum.
I personally felt that was blood money. I didn't want any part of it, except for the money that went to Justin and Sydney.
And the money that went to Justin and Sidney is the money that went directly to them from Sheila Weller.
Part of the book.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
What money are you referring to?
Whatever donations that are coming from that book, the sale of that book,
And who do you expect those donations to go to?
to Sydney and Justin,
The defendant's children.
the defendant's children.
How much of that money went to you?
Not a dime.
How much is going to go to you?
None.
Have you obtained any monetary gain at all as a result of the information and knowledge you have relative to this case?
Not so ever.
You told Mr. Douglas yesterday that you brought approximately 40 police officers to Rockingham. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did the defendant ever have any arguments or disagreements with any of those 40 police officers?
Never. O.J. loved them.
Did they appear to feel the same way about the defendant?
Sustained.
Did any police officer ever tell you that they didn't like the defendant?
Sustained.
Did the defendant ever reject any of those police officers off his property?
No.
Did he ever ask them to leave?
No.
And did those police officers make requests of the defendant? Did they ask him for things?
Sustained.
Did the defendant give those police officers anything?
Not all of them, but a few of them autographed pictures at my request.
And did those officers appear to appreciate that?
Overruled. He was there. He can testify to that.
Yes, they did.
Did you ever obtain the defendant's autograph?
One of the things, being around O.J. and Nicole, I never asked him for anything.
Overruled. He's saying he never something. If he could finish the answer, please.
I never asked O.J. and Nicole for anything, nothing. And to this very day, I do not have an autographed picture of O.J. Simpson. I asked for pictures for friends of mine and kids, never for myself. My kids don't have an autographed picture. My wife, I don't have one.
Mr. Judge.
Did you ever ask the defendant to help you along in your acting career?
Never. Once again, I say I never asked him for anything.
Did he ever help you in any way in terms of your acting career?
Yes, he did. Out of the blue, I get a call from
Overruled.
Kushner and Locke out of the blue saying, come down here and pick up a script. So I thought it was some tiny little extra part, and I get down there, and it's a police part.
Next
Uh,
question.
Okay. And who arranged for that police part for you?
O.J. did.
I'll ask another question.
Please.
Did you ever discuss the manner in which you obtained that police part with the defendant?
Later on, I said, hey, thanks, O.J.
And what did he say?
He played it off. He was like, hey, no big deal. I got to take my son Dio down, and he hung out with Lawrence Taylor. It was a great day. That's his hero.
These are the things friends do for friends, aren't they?
That's correct.
Sustained.
The defendant and Mr. Shipp are depicted in each of these photographs. May they be marked people's... 13, 14, and 15, and I will hand them to defense counsel.
13, 14, and 15. Stay there. All right, Deputy Magnier, we're going to take our break at this time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour for lunch. Please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, have any contact with anybody else, or allow yourself to be contacted with regard to the case. We'll see you back here at 1:30. Mr. Shipp, you're excused until 1:30. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers. All right, we'll stand in recess 1:30. Mr. Douglas? All right, good afternoon, counsel. All right, back on the record in the Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Douglas, and Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark and Mr. Darden. Counsel, anything we need to discuss before we invite the jurors to rejoin us?
No, Your Honor.
All right, and we have our witness here. All right, let's have the jurors, please. All right, the record reflect we've now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel, that Mr. Shipp is still on the witness stand. Mr. Shipp, you're reminded you're still under oath. Good afternoon, Mr. Darden.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good
You may
afternoon.
continue.
May I continue? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shipp, when we left off, you were telling us about your friendship with the defendant, and you also told us about your acting career, correct?
That's correct.
Now, is there or was there a program called First and 10?
That's correct.
That's a television program?
Yes, it is.
Was that on Fox or?
HBO.
HBO, a cable program?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what was the basic underlining story?
OJ was, his character was TD. I think he went from a football player to a coach to administration. I can't remember what the position was on the show.
And is that the show in which the defendant got you a role on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you played a police officer?
Once again, yes, I did.
Okay. Let me show you a photograph marked Exhibit
14.
Barrett's a little slow today, Your Honor. Pay attention. Exhibit 14. Light it up. Can you move the glass? Could you just step down for a moment, Mr. Shipp? Is that a photograph of you and the defendant there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that's you smiling there?
Yes,
And his arms are around you?
yes, they are.
Were you shooting a scene at that particular time?
No, we weren't.
What was going on in this photograph?
I remember, I think the director, Stan, made some kind of a joke. Something like, someone blew a line or something like that, and OJ, we thought it was funny. And that's when he hugged me.
Defendant hugged you, huh? Okay. And showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 15. That's the defendant there on the right side of the photograph? On your right side?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, he is.
Okay. And that's you in the middle?
That's me.
And who is the woman on the left side of the photograph?
That's my wife, Nina.
How long has she been your wife?
Almost 14 years, 13 and a half years.
Okay. And where was this photograph taken?
At the Simpson house on Rockingham.
Okay. And was there some type of affair or social occasion going on there?
I think it was his 40th birthday.
Were you invited to his 40th birthday party?
Yes, I was.
And so was your wife?
Yes, she was.
Thank you. Please take the witness stand. Okay. And you have other photographs with the defendant, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And you went to his wedding.
The reception part, not the private.
By the way, your wife has been present here in court throughout your testimony. Is that correct?
That's correct.
She's here now?
Yes, she is.
You indicated on cross-examination yesterday, that is when Mr. Douglas was asking you questions, that the defendant's statement about having dreams came before the defendant asked you how long DNA takes to come back? Was that your testimony?
Questions asking him if that's what it was. Overruled.
I'm sorry, Mr. Darden,
Okay.
could you repeat that again?
Okay. At some point, the defendant asked you, how long does it take DNA to come back, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And he also made a statement about having dreams about killing Nicole. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Which came first, the DNA statement or the killing statement?
The DNA statement came
Okay.
first.
Now,
Your Honor, I think he misspoke when he said the killing statement.
Dream statement.
the dream about killing statement. Okay. That statement came second or first?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Okay. Which came first? The question about when DNA
Oh,
comes
the DNA
back?
came first. I'm sorry. Yeah, DNA.
And then at some point, the defendant made the comment about having some dreams about killing
That's
Nicole?
correct. Right.
Now, was there some conversation between those two statements?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
That's why I was
And-
confused earlier. I'm sorry.
Okay. And you didn't tell us about the conversation between those two statements, did you?
I was ordered not to.
Who ordered you not to?
Well, actually, you informed me that the Judge Edel said not to talk about it.
Okay, so you weren't trying to mislead anyone.
Oh,
then.
no. No, I was not.
You were trying to comply with the court's
I
order.
was trying to comply with the court's order.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, just so you don't speculate as to what that is, there's something that transpired that I've determined is not relevant to this case, that I've ordered the witness not to testify about. It is not to have any impact upon your evaluation of this witness. Mr. Darden.
And to go back and discuss the 1989 incident briefly, Mr. Shipp, I believe you told Mr. Douglas today that that the defendant seemed to accept responsibility for the beating.
Yes, at one point he did.
Okay.
Mr. Farlow. Mr. Darden.
Thank you, Your Honor. So up to some point, or at some point, the defendant accepted responsibility for the beating?
Yes, he did.
Did he continuously accept responsibility for the beating?
Can you be a little bit more exact? Did he
Okay, well, let me put it to you this way. You had a conversation with him that first week of January, correct?
Correct.
Did he immediately accept responsibility for the beating?
Not immediately, but after we had talked for a while, O.J. made a remark to me. He said that he didn't think that he was a batterer, and I explained to him, I said, hey man, you hit her. She's got marks. You're a batterer. And that's when he kind of agreed and said, you know, I guess you're right.
Did you ask the defendant to admit that publicly?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
Like I said, at first he was very resistant because he thought it was going to ruin his image. He thought that he would lose the hurts, and he didn't want anything to do with it. And I explained to him that a lot of times if you come forth with women's groups and admit you have a problem, that people will welcome you more.
Okay. And what did he say he would do?
He said, you know, he'd think about it, and it sounded pretty good to him.
And did you have a conversation with him the next day or the day after that?
Yes, I did.
And what did the defendant say then?
He said he had received advice, I don't know who from, that that was not a good idea.
Answer will stand.
Oh,
Sorry, I didn't hear the answer, Your Honor.
Answer was he didn't know who from, but it wasn't a good idea.
So the next day the defendant told you that this notion about accepting responsibility publicly was not a good idea?
right, that he wasn't going to do it.
You also told Mr. Douglas that you felt that you were treated like a servant by the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And what did you mean? What did you mean by that?
I said I was like a servant to him, like a lot of people, and meaning that I did not mind doing anything I did for O.J. because I idolized him. And I did with open arms. And a lot of people were the same way.
So you did things for him.
Did a lot of things.
Whatever it was he asked of you, you did it.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Now, you told us yesterday that you ran vehicle license plates for him.
Overruled.
Is that correct?
Pardon me?
You told us yesterday that you ran license plates for the defendant?
For the defendant, that's correct.
Okay. And you contacted a detective, the detective on the 89 beating case on his behalf, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you do other things for the defendant? That is, other things in your official capacity as a police officer?
Yes, I did.
What kinds of other things?
What, you mean as a police officer or
Yes.
on my off-duty time?
Okay, well, as a peace officer.
As a police officer on duty, other than talking to the detective about signing off the report, no, not on duty.
Okay. Well, how about things that you did in your capacity as an off-duty police officer?
Yes, I did quite a bit.
Okay. And what types of things did you do there?
There was one time in particular when O.J. called me when Jason and some friends, I think he was around 16 years old, had used some cocaine, and Jason had a seizure. And O.J. was very upset that this happened, and he wanted to find out who sold the cocaine to him and his friends. And he set up a meeting in the neighborhood with a bunch of the parents.
Okay. Anything else?
There was also another time when I was at home when I received a call from Rolf Bauer stating that Jason was...
Sustained. Sustained.
Well, after you received this call from Ralph Bauer, did you do something?
Yeah, I went to O.J.'s house because Jason had apparently taken a bat to O.J.'s life-size statue in the backyard.
And you went to speak to Jason Simpson?
Yes, I did.
Okay. To counsel him?
Yes, I did.
And to go back to Monday, June 13th, that would be the Monday following the murders, is that correct?
That's correct.
the day following the murders?
That's correct.
And you told Mr. Douglas that you were in the television room or the TV room at Rockingham, is that right?
That's correct.
And there are 4 television sets there?
I think it's approximately 3 or 4.
And were all those television sets on while you
Yes,
were
they
there?
were.
Was there news footage and news commentary regarding the murders?
On every station.
Did you see the defendant on TV that day?
Yes, I did.
Was he in handcuffs at some
At
point?
one particular time, yes, he was.
And was he released?
Yes, he was.
Those handcuffs were taken off?
Yes, they were.
And this happened on Monday, June 13, is that right?
That's correct.
And was the defendant present as you watched the 3 or 4 different television sets?
Yeah, he sat there with us.
Did you see film footage of the murder scene on television that day?
I do believe there was, at that particular time, I think they were focusing more to the fact that O.J. had been arrested, but they did flash back a little bit to the scene.
Okay. Did you see news footage of the bodies being taken away?
Yes, I did.
Was the defendant there while this news footage was on?
Yes, he was.
And while you were watching television in that room with the defendant, did he ever ask you who you thought killed Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman?
Never.
Did he ever express any sadness or sense of loss because Nicole was gone?
I didn't see it because of Nicole. No, I didn't.
You told Mr. Douglas that before the defendant told you about the dreams he'd had of killing Nicole, that he chuckled, correct?
Yes, he did.
Did he really chuckle?
He chuckled.
And this was the same day that the bodies were removed?
Same day. That evening.
Same day that you and he saw photographs or film footage of the murder scene. Is that right?
That's correct.
And he chuckled.
Yes, he did.
You told Mr. Douglas that you did not go to football games with the defendant. Is that right?
That's correct.
Have you ever been to New York City?
Never.
Have you lived in Los Angeles your entire life, pretty
My
much?
entire life.
If you know, where was the defendant usually during football season?
Either in New York or doing some kind of a show, football show.
And what would he be doing in New York, if you knew?
Commentating.
Commentating on what?
Football games.
He was an NFL commentator. Is that right?
That's correct.
So while football games were being played during football season, he wasn't even in California, was he?
No, he wasn't, unless there was a game that he was doing in Los Angeles, a Raider game.
And did you go to college, Mr. Shipp?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you go?
I went 2 years at East Elginga College, and I transferred over to USC.
USC, the same college the defendant went to. Huh?
That's correct.
You play football there?
I went off with the team.
Didn't make it?
Wasn't good enough.
You also told us that while employed as a police officer, you testified 50 to 60 times. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You also told us that you were given some training in how to appear in court. Is that right?
That's correct.
What was the most basic thing you were taught in the police academy with regard to how to testify?
Never tell a lie.
And have you attempted to follow that training today?
To this very day.
And are you telling us the truth today, Mr. Shipp?
The absolute truth.
Thank you, sir.
Recross.
Mr. Shipp, were you told in the academy that it was proper to mislead a pending investigation of murder charges?
As a police officer?
Correct.
Of course, yeah, I was told that.
That it's proper to mislead?
No, I mean, no, that you shouldn't, right.
Were you told in the academy that it was proper for a witness to an incident to lie to investigators who were investigating an incident?
No, I was not told to do that.
Now, you mentioned that you made a fool of yourself at Mr. Simpson's wedding reception, didn't
That's
you?
correct.
And you made a fool of yourself after you got drunk, didn't you?
Well, to me, I mean, no one, if there's nobody else that can actually, to me, I mean, I was slurring my words. That, to me, that's making a fool out of yourself. No one else said, hey, get this bum out of here.
Well, once you got drunk, didn't you then begin making more of a fool of yourself with your conduct?
As far as I was concerned,
You did.
if I was drunk and I was not able to speak like I would speak when I'm sober and I know that I'm slurring, to me, that's embarrassing.
Well, at Mr. Simpson's wedding reception, isn't it true that you got drunk and got into an argument and fight with one of the other guests that were there?
One of the guests?
Yes.
No, I did not. That's not what I meant by fool.
Now, you also said that when you got drunk this past year, you went over to Miss Randa's house at 1 o'clock in the morning to say, whoops, here I am.
Correct?
Did you think that you wanted, withdrawn, did you think that Miss Randa wanted to see you in all of your drunken glory at 1 o'clock in the morning outside of her home unannounced?
Well, I felt I had done so many favors for OJ and all his friends, and I was close to Kathy, that it wouldn't, I mean, she would understand herself, okay, having a problem, which
So-
she had understood in so many times before.
So you wanted her to see you in all of your drunken glory.
Yes, I did.
And were you too drunk to call her on the telephone and say that you're coming over so you can see me in all of my drunken glory?
No, I was not.
Did you drive over there drunk?
Did I drive over? Yes, I did. I was drunk.
That wasn't very smart, was it?
I was bad.
Did you drive home after leaving her house 1 in the morning drunk?
Yes, I did.
That wasn't very smart either, was it?
No, I was not. I'm not proud of it. I told you I'm not perfect, Mr. Douglas.
Answer the question. Thank you, sir. Isn't it true, sir, that some of the police favors that you performed were performed for Mrs. Simpson, correct?
Yeah, quite a bit. That's true.
You ran a license plate for Mrs. Simpson's request, didn't you?
Also, yes, I did.
Not for Mr. Simpson, did you?
Yes, I did.
Didn't she want you to help her to remove some tenants out of an apartment that she owned in the South Bay?
Yes, you did.
And you then ran a license plate for her under those circumstances, didn't you?
That wasn't the only time I ran a license. I ran license plates quite a bit when they had people coming over the house that they didn't know who was hanging around. Ship, will you check this out, please? We got people driving around.
Were you violating any official rules or procedures of the Los Angeles Police Department by running a license plate for a personal friend?
Yes, I was.
Now, isn't it true, sir, that the Brown family was responsible for arranging for security at Nicole Brown Simpson's funeral?
I was contacted by Kathy originally, not the Browns.
The occasion that you could think of, the only occasion that you could think of in your 26-year friendship with Mr. Simpson when you and he ate together was on the set of Naked Gun 2.5, correct?
That's one.
And that was a meal that took place during a casting break, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
And there were other members of the cast that were also sitting around enjoying the meal, wasn't there?
Our lunch was isolated. It was just he and I, and then there was two people that came to get some football signs, some alumni from USC that joined us. But originally, it was just he and I.
Now, you mentioned that in 1989 you attempted to arrange for the charges against Mr. Simpson to be signed off on.
Yes,
correct?
I did.
In 1989, you had worked as an instructor at the academy,
That's
did you
correct.
not? And you were an instructor working and teaching domestic violence, did you not?
That's correct.
And you were aware in 1989 that whenever allegations of domestic abuse were filed and there was some independent corroboration, that the charges had to be brought formally, correct?
That's correct.
So you knew in 1989 that there was nothing that you could personally do to obviate the filing of charges, true?
That's what I believed.
Now, you said earlier to Mr. Darden that you had never asked Mr. Simpson for anything. Remember saying that?
That's correct.
You did ask on occasion to play tennis on his tennis court, true?
Okay, yes, that's true.
And when you were at his home in the dark with the blonde, who wasn't your wife, who's here in court, you did ask that he bring you a bottle of wine, didn't you?
That's correct.
And did she drink the wine by herself?
No,
Or did you?
no, we drank it. O.J. came out and stayed with us because he thought she was real attractive.
Wasn't O.J. living his own life at the time that you came by unannounced and asked to use the
I didn't
jacuzzi?
come by. Can I answer these questions? I didn't come by unannounced. I was there. See, he's forgetting. I was there we got there at 7 o'clock. Played
Why don't you
tennis.
let me ask the questions and you can
I'm
answer my
trying to
questions?
answer it.
Okay.
Sorry.
You first called Mr. Simpson and he was on the phone when you called, correct?
When I buzzed it, right.
And you asked Mr. Simpson to use the jacuzzi, correct?
Yes, I've never gotten in his jacuzzi.
And he asked you whether or not the jacuzzi was still on. Remember that?
I think you're correct.
And you informed him that the jacuzzi was on because you had been there earlier that day, true?
Earlier that day?
Correct.
No, I wasn't there earlier that day. I was playing tennis at 7 o'clock.
So he then allowed you and your blonde friend to use the jacuzzi.
That's
true?
correct.
And then about a half hour later you called him back.
That's
Correct.
correct.
And asked for the bottle of wine.
That's correct.
And it was sometime while you and this friend of yours was in the jacuzzi that you happened to see his daughter, Arnell Simpson.
That's correct.
Now, you suggested earlier that you had only seen this woman, Angela Spilker, but for 10 seconds on one occasion.
That's correct.
That's not true, is it, sir?
It's the gospel truth.
I check, Your Honor, this is beyond the redirect.
It's true.
If it is, Your Honor, I'd allow the court to allow me to reopen for this brief area, which might be beyond.
It's real tangential. It's real tangential.
May I, at sidebar, tell the court?
Please. All right. Thank you, counsel.
when Mr. Simpson was present at his home on June 13th, correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall that he was sitting there in the company of his mother for most of that evening while he was watching television?
Actually, that's correct. She was sitting there.
And do you recall, in fact, that Mr. Simpson was very distraught during that time?
He was, in my opinion, Mr. Simpson, what I saw was anger. I saw anger at the news coverage that he was actually being accused of murdering Nicole and Ron. That's all I saw.
Well, it is true, is it not, that Mr. Simpson was distraught that week of June 13th when you saw him, correct?
Tuesday morning, I saw O.J. before he was snuck out of the compound. I saw him that morning he was leaving. That's when, to me, that's when I saw him. He looked totally disheveled and distraught.
And it's your testimony that Mr. Simpson didn't show any signs of concern on June 13th when you were there in his house?
Not about Nicole.
Overruled. You can answer the question. Mr. Darden, briefly.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Great, thank you.
This witness be excused?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to keep him on call.
All right. Mr. Shipp, I'm going to excuse you at this time, subject to further recall. You're ordered not to discuss your testimony with any other person other than the attorneys in the case.
Yes,
All right? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can the witness be similar admonished about the court's order as to any witnesses as well?
Yes, also don't watch any of the television coverage or news coverage regarding this case. All right? Thank you, sir. Mr. Darden, your next witness.
Your Honor, that's going to take a couple of moments. We may have some sidebar issues.
All right, let me ask the jurors to step back into the jury room then. Once you get your witness started, however. To reflect that the jury has withdrawn from the courtroom. Mr. Darden, who is your next witness?
The next witness will be Senior DA Investigator Mike Stevens. He is the investigator that retrieved certain items from Nicole Brown's safe deposit box. I don't know that counsel has ever seen the originals of the items contained therein, and I intend to introduce many of those items.
All right, do you have those items here?
Yeah.
All right, is this Mr. Stevens, I take it? For what purpose? To examine the contents there and show them to counsel?
Yeah, and to see if we can't reach some compromise on some of the items, which I doubt, but it might save some time.
Well, the only difference is I can wander into the back there, so why don't you pull it out and show it to counsel? Maybe if I stay here, it'll go quicker. I'm sorry?
Can this be cut off? This microphone.
Ah, I understand.
You see what I'm
All
saying,
right.
Your Honor?
Yes, I understand. All right, we will take a recess. Mr. Darden, Mr.
I don't mind if you just move some, let's away from here. I don't want to stand
Well,
in front of the
there's a lot of stuff. There are 10 or 12 items. Things like newspapers from 1989.
Why don't we step over there?
All right, step over here to the sidebar. Back on the record. All right, the record should reflect that the prosecuting attorney, Mr. Darden, has displayed to the court and defense counsel certain items of evidence that are, and it's your offer, Mr. Darden, that these came from a safe deposit box belonging to Nicole Brown Simpson.
That's correct, Your Honor. And they were seized by DA investigators pursuant to a search warrant on December 6, 1994. There were a number of items included in the safe deposit box, including a will dated in 1990.
A will?
The will.
1990, okay. Are you going to be offering that will?
No, Your Honor. I am, however, going to be offering 3 Polaroid photographs that have already been marked, rather. People's 9, 10, and 11. And I'm also going to be offering some newspapers, old newspapers that were also found in the safe deposit box. They are all from the year 1989. All but one piece contains news stories regarding the beating that occurred on January 1, 1989, the fact that the L.A. City Attorney filed charges against the defendant, and I believe the plea. I'm sorry, they also announced the arraignment in these newspapers. I think these are relevant because they help to date the photographs contained within the safe deposit box. It appears to us that what Nicole Brown was doing was leaving a trail for us, some indication as to what happened back on January 1, 1989. I expect that as we proceed through the trial, others will step forward and may testify to having seen these specific photographs before, if not others, that depict other bruises or injuries suffered by Nicole Brown on January 1, 1989.
Mr. Darden, what is the offer of proof that you're going to make to the court regarding Mr. Stevens' testimony regarding the proximity of those photos to the newspapers that you have there?
They're in the same safe deposit box, Your Honor.
All right.
Okay. There's another item. It is not dated. It's from the real estate section, apparently, from the L.A. Times. And this small article is entitled, O.J. Simpson Buys Laguna Beach Home. And I think this is relevant, or it will become relevant as time goes on, as we call Mr. Aguilera to the stand to testify to having seen the defendant strike Nicole Brown with an open hand at Victoria Beach.
But, all right. Is there any objection to any of these items?
Yes, ma'am. I'm waiting on the bench.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
Are those the items that you're going to offer, Mr. Darden?
Well, we will be offering 3 letters seized from that same safe deposit box, and the defense has already stipulated that the defendant wrote those letters. But we will offer those as well.
All right.
I should indicate that there is a plane ticket to New York in Nicole Brown's name from 1979, from 1978, that's also contained in the safe deposit box. I don't intend to offer that.
Okay. All right, let me start at the top. Mr. Cochran, do you have any of these items that you have no objection to?
Yes, Your Honor. I have no objection to, number one, if he's not going to offer the will of September 30th, 1990, which is, pages. Eight pages plus a rider, we would offer the will. I think that's relevant. And I would not offer the traveler's indemnity insurance coverage because I don't think it's appropriate to have Mr. Simpson's assets publicly displayed. With regard to the newspapers, Your Honor, all the newspapers that relate to this particular incident of January 1st, 1989, I object. This is all hearsay. It doesn't help us at all. It's hearsay. It's some particular writer's version of events at an arraignment or what was coming up. That's hearsay. It should be kept up. There's no exception to that. With regard to these photographs, if I could have just a moment to talk to counsel. With regard to these three photographs, Mr. Darden made a representation to me that it's his belief these photographs all relate to the January 1st, '89. I told him that if there is going to be testimony, he indicates Denise Brown would be the person who would perhaps so testify. If there's testimony in that regard, we perhaps will not object to them if they relate to that particular time. We don't need the newspapers for that particular thing, it seems to me. If we don't have an objection to the O.J. Simpson buys Laguna Beach home, is that it?
How about the three letters?
The three letters. I previously indicated to counsel that I would stipulate those letters were written by Mr. Simpson's handwriting.
All right.
Would the court care to hear more argument regarding these newspaper articles?
No.
With regard to the newspaper articles, my only concern really is the date, okay, are the dates. And we could simply redact a lot of the stuff from the newspaper, you know, including the articles about Mr. Simpson beating up Nicole or whatever. I mean, I don't have to have that. What I'm really interested in are the dates and perhaps the headlines just to establish those dates.
How do we go over hearsay objection? The newspaper hearsay objection.
You mean to the headline? It's not offered for the truth of the matter stated,
It's
Your Honor.
offered for the date, which
It's
is...
offered for the date.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is a newspaper. Let's grab the evidence code and see what it says about newspapers. I think it'll say they're admissible.
Yeah. All right.
Let's grab it.
Counsel, I don't really think that the date is in dispute. The court documents, if you ever intend on, are you ever going to offer a certified copy of the court documents from the West Los Angeles Municipal Court? Because that pretty much would speak for itself, don't you think?
I'll
And
let
since it would be a arguably certified copy, and I would have to take judicial notice of it.
A very good argument on this issue, Your Honor.
I suggest you not listen to it, because I heard it.
I scare him.
Mr. Cochran's going to object before I even state the argument. But what is important here, Your Honor, is the fact that Nicole Brown apparently felt even back in 1990, even at the age of only 30 years old, that something bad was going to happen to her, and that it was going to happen to her at the hands of the defendant. She prepared a will in 1990.
All right, well, there's been no objection to the will.
Okay.
The will is a holographic will and bears the date and signature of Nicole Brown Simpson.
Okay.
I assume somebody from her family will come in and say this is her handwriting.
That's true. She left some photographs. Okay.
All right, and I assume somebody, the offer of proof is that Denise Brown is going to come in and give us a date of those photographs.
Well, Denise Brown will come in and say that she saw these photographs.
We're going to talk about this, Denise Brown. She needed to get this part.
All right. Ms. Brown, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Thank you. All right.
I would say that the newspaper articles go to the state of mind of Nicole Brown. She's leaving a trail for us. She's trying to date the photographs for us, and I think it's relevant. I think the date that the photographs were taken are relevant. The incident that they relate to are relevant. And I think that these photographs help to establish, the newspapers help to establish that.
All right.
Denise Brown wasn't present at the time that the defendant beat up Nicole Brown in 1989.
But I assume that she'll be able to testify as to when she was shown those photographs and by whom. And the photographs pretty much speak for themselves. But what's relevant to the investigator's testimony is that on such and such a date at such and such a time, he served a search warrant, drilled the box, and this is what was in it. And then somebody else will have to lay the foundation for the photographs.
You're not going to let me put in my newspapers.
I'm going to
I'm not finished yet. I got the podium.
sustain the objection to the newspapers.
It's a very damaging evidence, Your Honor. Very poetic evidence, too.
That's what all the prosecutors say.
The hot property item, that remains?
There's no objection to it. It's
Okay.
relevant evidence. Although the Orange County Recorder Registrar's Office would probably have a certified copy of those documents as well.
That's in Orange County, you know how confusing things are there these days. As for the will, I'm not going to offer the will. I'm going to offer the photographs, the O.J. Simpson buys Laguna Beach home, the letters retrieved from the safe deposit box.
Or I assume that on cross-examination, Mr. Cochran will elicit from Detective Stevens that he did find some other matters.
Yes, and I want to listen, Your Honor, may I have a second, Your Honor? If I'm going to stipulate to the handwriting, I want to talk to Mr. Darden for just a moment, if I might.
Sure.
He has already stipulated to the handwriting, Your Honor, so that's clear.
Yes, he has.
Counsel's up here making statements. If you don't mind, let me just have my minute to respond. We are going to be offering this particular will. Counsel talks about, if the court pleases, their interpretation of the evidence. They're always talking about these trails. And I think that the court should be aware that the reason they don't want this will in is as follows. He says, this is my will.
Well, counsel, I've read
Well, but you know, I'm responding. I know you've read it, but counsel has a penchant for speaking, so the press picks it up, and we shouldn't be precluded from responding. I don't think, Your Honor.
He taught me
I have
that,
this up?
Your Honor.
And
Mr. Darden, thank you. Counsel, I mean, I've read it, and if it's only for the public's, I mean, you have a copy of that document in your possession. The press probably has seen it already.
All I want to do is respond to what he said, Your Honor, if I might. You
Briefly,
wouldn't preclude me from that, would you?
briefly.
All right. What I wanted to indicate is that this will sets forth a young lady who has tremendous assets, who basically apologizes to O.J. by saying, you have so much wealth, that's why I'm not leaving anything to you. Remember me from early in our relationship before I became so unhappy and so bitchy. So, I mean, I think that this, you know, interpretations are such that she was the one who was unhappy, was talking about her state of mind, which isn't relevant, and then she has all these tremendous assets, including this condo that Mr. Simpson gave her free, so that I think the interpretation that they make is clearly wrong under the circumstances. So I just want an opportunity to respond to what they said.
Let me just ask a question. Has any last will and testament been filed by Nicole Brown Simpson state? I assume yes.
I believe yes, in Santa Monica, I believe.
Okay. So that's a court document. Does it have bear any resemblance to this document here?
I think it may, Your Honor. I'm not sure she says she was bitchy and unhappy in the one that was filed, but I think it bears some semblance.
Well, at this point, what you can do is ask Investigator Stevens if he found it there, mark it for identification purposes. You'll have to make an argument for its admissibility at some point in time. But while we have Investigator Stevens here, we might as well get
I'd like
it
to be
out
able
of
to
the
do
way.
that.
But it won't be shown to the jury until it's been found to be admissible and not displayed on the Elmo until such is determined.
I won't do like they do, Your Honor. No, I'll abide by the rules.
Okay. And as I understand it, Your Honor, this is not the last will and testament, the September 30, 1990 will. It is not. And the real question here is what made her so unhappy and bitchy, I think.
All
I
right.
think that's clear.
Thank you, counsel. I'm not the one who has to be convinced. So you can save the peripheral comments. All right, let's have the jury.
I do, however, intend to display the letters.
Yes, and there's been no objection to the letters. Because there's no objection. Madam Reporter, how you doing?
And did you do that? Yes, I did. And did you examine the contents of that safe deposit box?
Yes.
Whose safe deposit box was it?
Nicole Brown Simpson.
And did you remove certain items from that safe deposit box?
Yes, I did.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing you a Polaroid photograph that has been marked Exhibit 10, People's 10 for identification. You recognize that photograph?
Yes.
Is that a photograph you removed from Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes, it is.
Showing you Exhibit 9, People's Exhibit 9. That's a Polaroid photograph, correct?
Yes.
Did you remove that Polaroid from Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes, I did.
And showing you what has been marked as People's 11. Is that a Polaroid photograph?
Yes.
Was that photograph contained in Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes, it was.
Now, each of those photographs depict the face of someone, is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that the face of someone you're familiar with, or a face that you're familiar with?
Yes.
Who's depicted in each of those photographs?
Nicole Brown Simpson.
Were there other items inside the safe deposit box?
Yes, there was.
Your Honor, I'm holding in my hand that which appears to be a 9-page document dated September 30, 1990. May it be marked People's 14.
Hold on, let me get the final word. 16. 1-6.
This is a will dated September 30, 1990, Your Honor. Showing you what is marked Eagle 16. Recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
Is that an item that you found in Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes, it was in a sealed envelope that was contained inside the safe deposit box.
If I can hand you the envelope, Your Honor, may the envelope be marked and included in People 16?
16A. Envelope be marked 16A, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Okay. The envelope I just handed you, 16A, is that the envelope?
Yes, it is.
The envelope was sealed?
Yes.
I'm holding in my hand appears to be a handwritten letter, consists of 6 pages, and includes an envelope. That you mark People's 17 collectively.
People 17.
May I have one moment? Showing you the items marked, People 17 collectively. Mr. Stevens, you recognize these items?
Yes. Council may approach without leave of the court one at a time for me to decide.
Yes, I do.
When was the first time you saw the letter marked People 17?
December 6th, when I opened up the safe deposit box.
Your Honor, if I may I display the letter for the jury?
I think you have no objection. May I just look at them for a second? Sure.
Almo for this, or do we have this on the laser disc?
You need Elmo for this.
All right.
I have no objection.
All right.
This is the envelope included in People 17, Your Honor. Page 1. Can I read the record, the letter into the record, Your Honor?
I think the script, it appears to be, let me ask the jury, can you read the letter, ladies and gentlemen? I'm getting nods even from the end of the jury box. All right. We'll let them read the letter to themselves. All right, page 2. Page 3.
People's 18.
All right, People's 18, two-page letter. All right, Mr. Doug.
Two-page letter, maybe marked People's 19. Stevens showing you People's 18. Was that letter contained in Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes, it was.
This letter marked People's 18, as well as the letter marked 17, were both contained in the safe deposit box,
Yes.
along with those 3 photographs.
Yes.
May I display People's 18 for the jury, Your Honor?
And Mr. Cochran? All right.
Showing you People's 19. This is a 2-page letter, is that correct?
Yes.
That letter in Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens, the Polaroid photograph, Exhibits 9, 10, and 11, testify that each of those photographs depict or show Nicole Brown.
Yes.
Do they show injuries to her?
Yes, they do.
That is on each of the photographs?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm holding here what appears to be a portion of a newspaper article. May it be marked People's 20. It's entitled Hot Property. O.J. Simpson buys Laguna Beach home. You recognize that small piece of newspaper, sir?
Yes.
Was that also in Nicole Brown's safe deposit box?
Yes, it was.
There were other items in that box as well, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you made any attempt to determine the date in which each of those Polaroid photographs were taken?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do in that regard?
I took the photographs to Polaroid Corporation in Santa Ana.
And why did you take them there?
There's numbers on the back of the photos. I contacted Polaroid. They told me that they could date them.
It's an offer of proof, Your Honor. The counsel wants to talk about it. Yes, I'm glad to listen.
All right, after taking the Polaroid, next question.
I'm sorry, why did you take them to Polaroid without telling us what Polaroid told you?
To date
Mr.
the
Stevens?
photographs.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Cochran?
Thank you very kind, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Stevens.
Good afternoon.
As I understand your testimony, on December 6th of 1994, armed with a search warrant, you went into this particular safe deposit box and recovered a number of items. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Among the items that you recovered were the three letters we just saw, which letters appear to be apology letters to Nicole Brown Simpson. Is that right?
Overruled. Let her speak for
They'll
themselves.
speak for themselves, and I can ask that question.
That's correct.
And those, you found those apology letters in that box altogether, right?
Yes.
Now, in addition to the letters of apology regarding this 1989 incident, you also found this will which counsel marked. Is that correct?
Yes.
Still up there? May I approach you, Your Honor?
You may.
This document was marked a will, and for the record, Your Honor, this number is
Equals 16.
to the 16 and 16A. Mr. Stevens, sir, this particular document, the will, was inside this particular envelope. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The envelope indicated only open in front of a lawyer, right?
That's right.
All right. And you opened it.
I did it in front of a lawyer.
You found a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
Is there a lawyer in this courtroom?
Yes, he is.
And is that him there?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Indicating for the record, Mr.
All
Darden.
right. So he was present when you opened it?
Yes.
Okay. And you had occasion to read this this document dated September 30th, 1990, did you not?
Briefly, I read through it real quick once.
All right. And Your Honor, I'd like to show the first page of this particular document on the Elmo.
Mr. Darden? He'd like to show it using the Elmo.
I object.
All right.
No. That's not true at all. Not true. They weren't going to mark it, I thought. We'll
No.
approach. They can approach.
It's marked, but there's no foundation for it at this point.
Well, may I ask a couple of questions?
Well, counsel, let's do this.
Well,
Hold on. We're right at 3 o'clock. I need to take a break for the court reporter. Let's do this. Let's let the jury go, and we'll come back and discuss it.
May I ask a question before we go? Are we going to adjourn at 4 o'clock today?
It's Thursday, 4:30.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We had the motion to quash with the jury. Excuse me, the subpoena. Let me talk to the bailiff real quick. All right, counsel, I'm going to take the rescheduled recess, and the part of the problem, and I'll discuss it with you up here as soon as we release the jury. I'll tell you what our logistical problem is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take our mid-afternoon recess at this time. I have another matter scheduled at 4 o'clock, so we're going to have only a brief period of more testimony when you come back. Please remember my admonition to you: don't discuss the case among yourselves, don't form any opinions about the case, don't talk to anybody about the case or let anybody talk to you about it, and we'll see you back here at 3:30. All right? All right, let me see counsel. All right, let the record reflect that we have been rejoined by all members of our jury panel. Investigator Stevens is on the witness stand under cross-examination. Investigator Stevens, you're reminded you're still under oath. And Mr. Cochran, you may continue your cross-examination.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor. Just a few more questions. Investigator Stevens, I presume you found no other letters in that safe deposit box we've not talked about. Is that correct?
There was one other letter.
All right, and we've not marked that this afternoon?
No, we have not.
All right. Did you find some plane tickets in there also?
Yes, I did.
And whose name were these plane tickets in?
If I recall, it was Nicole Simpson.
And was this a trip to New York?
Yes, it was.
Were these tickets ever used, if you know?
It appeared to be the receipt.
The receipt for plane tickets to New York and back to Los Angeles?
Yes, to JFK Airport.
All right. Now, Mr. Darden alluded to in his direct examination a newspaper article regarding the purchase by Mr. O.J. Simpson of some property in Laguna Beach. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that newspaper article before you?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I don't think we've shown that to the jury. May I be permitted to show that to the jury?
Yes.
May I approach?
You may. All right, do we have the Elmo working? This is People's 20? 20.
Your Honor, we report to put up on the board.
This is that Sunday column from the Times real estate section.
Hot property, yes, Your Honor. Can we inquire, Your Honor, whether or not the jury's able to read that?
Seems to be slightly out of focus. And the part about Mr. Simpson's property is the first two paragraphs, so we can just focus in on that, I think. Right. Why don't you move it over slightly to the left? Perfect. Mr. Cochran?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further of Investigator Stevens at this point.
Investigator Stevens, you described the three letters that we displayed as an apology.
Yes.
Was there anything in those letters that mentioned anything about a mutual wrestling match?
I did not object, Your Honor. The letters speak for themselves. The jurors have seen the letters, seen proper reading.
Correct. All this the investigator did was seize the letters.
Well,
He's
couldn't
not
the
the
let-
interpreter.
Thank you, Your Honor. Couldn't the letters be characterized more as a confession as opposed to an apology? He was entitled.
Argumentative. Counsel knows it.
Sustained. Counsel, the letters have been exhibited in their entirety to the jury. They can characterize it as they wish.
Move to strike, counsel.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Any recross on that one question?
No, there was no question.
Oh, they got one in. All right, Investigator Stevens, thank you very much. You're excused for the afternoon. If you return those photographs to Mr. Darden, please. And don't discuss your testimony with anybody other than the attorneys in the matter. Thank you, sir. All right, next witness.
People's 21 is an audio tape. An audio tape of an incident that occurred on October 25, 1993. May it be marked People's 21.
All right, People's 21. All right, Ms. Moore, just come over here and stand by the court reporter, please, and face the clerk.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pleading before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
So please proceed and state and spell your first and last name for the record.
Terry, Terri, Moore, Moore.
Mr. Darden.
Mr. who?
Darden.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Moore.
Hi.
Who do you work for?
Los Angeles Police.
And what do you do for the Los Angeles Police Department?
I'm a police service representative instructor.
And what is it that you instruct?
All of the functions of being a police service rep.
Okay. And does that include a 911 operator?
Yes.
Have you been a 911 operator in the past?
Yes, for the past 3 years and 7 months.
And were you a 911 operator on October 25, 1993?
Yes.
And were you on duty at approximately 9:54 p.m. on that day?
Yes.
Were you at your station?
Yes.
Were you receiving calls or taking calls?
Yes.
And on that date and at that time, did you receive a 911 emergency call?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have here what appears to be an LAPD 911 incident report. May it be marked People's 22 for identification?
People's 22.
Can we approach for a moment without the recording room?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's an issue I need to take up out of your presence. I'm going to ask you to step back into the jury room. This should only take about 5 or 8 minutes. The jury has withdrawn from the courtroom. Be seated. Thank you. Mr. Darden, do you have this tape you want to play?
As the court is aware, the court ordered us to redact from the tape the following comment: he's going to beat the shit out of me. And we've redacted the tape, and, as the court has instructed us to do.
What's the length of the tape, Mr. Darden?
Pardon me?
What is the length of the tape?
Mr. Douglas says approximately 14 minutes. 14 minutes.
All right. No, my concern is Ms. Clark's problem.
I'll stipulate Ms. Clark.
I'm sorry? I don't have.
All right, do we have the tape queued up?
Possibly using the speakers. No, it's set down to see it work.
All right, play the tape.
Emergency. Yeah, can you send someone to my house? What's the problem there? Well, my ex-husband or my husband just broke into my house, and he's ranting and raving. Now, he's just walked out in the front yard. Has he been drinking or anything? No, but he's crazy. Is he black? What is Hispanic? Black. What's he wearing right now? Black pants and a golf shirt. What color shirt? I think it's black and white. You said he hasn't been drinking?
No.
Did he hit you? No. Did you have a restraining order against him? No. What's your name? Nicole Simpson. Your address? 325 Gretna Green Way. The house or apartment? It's a house. Okay, we'll send the police out. Thank you. Uh-huh. Anyone still in a domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Greenway, Monmouth, comments, code incident 42218825. Emergency. Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please. Well, okay, what does he look like? He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here? Okay, what is he doing there? He just drove up again. He just drove over? Okay, wait a minute. What kind of car is he in? He's in a white Bronco, but first of all, he broke the back door down to get in. Okay, wait a minute. What's your name? Nicole Simpson. Okay, is he the sportscaster or whatever? Yeah. Okay, and Thank you. Wait a minute, we're sending the police. What is he doing? Is he threatening you? He's fucking going nuts. Okay, has he threatened you in any way, or is he just harassing you? You're going to hear him in a minute. He's about to come in again. Okay, just stay on the line. I don't want to stay on the line. Just stay on the line so we can know what's going on until the police get there, okay? Okay, Nicole? Uh-huh.
That was the portion that I recall that the other comment was that the court ordered redacted.
There's another part that I'd ask the court to consider redacting.
What is that?
The part about he's effing going nuts. You hear that part?
Well, I think it's descriptive of what appears to go on.
Well, I don't think I expect to just read the court with regard to the effing part. That's what I have referenced. He's going nuts. I don't think you need the expletive.
Mr. Darden?
I'm no great fan of expletives, Your Honor, but I think that the jury has a right to hear the tape in its full context. And this is an issue we discussed weeks ago.
I agree.
I mean, let's move on with the trial.
We want to move on with the trial. This is all I'm saying to the court is that it's the same as when we had to excise all this stuff about polygraphs to get at the dream that he wanted to. So I'll submit it, but I think that the court has, in your discretion, it doesn't change the flavor to say he's going nuts as opposed to
All right. The court's considered that previously. All right, let's have the jurors, please. You fine?
There's more, Your Honor. Is that all? That's all.
Well, that was the part that was to be redacted, and we wanted to make sure that it had, in fact, been redacted. I think we have enough time on the court day to play the tape. seated. All right, Mr. Darden, you may continue. Certainly. Mr. Darden, you may.
Or showing me what is remarked as people's 22-part identification. You recognize that document?
Yes,
What is that document?
that's an incident history.
And what exactly is an incident history?
Whenever we take a call that comes in from 911 or any other console, we create an incident, and then we input comments, the address, the name of the person calling, and any other pertinent information. And it generates an incident number so it can be later referenced, and the officers can know where they're going and what they need.
Okay. Now, by looking at that incident report, can you tell us when and if a 911 operator received a telephone call from 325 Gretna Green?
Yes.
Who received the first call?
There was another operator who was sitting on the console 40, which was right next to me.
Okay. And who was that person?
That was PSR Stephanie Martin.
Stephanie Martin?
Yes.
Okay. And what time did Stephanie Martin receive the first 911 call?
She received it at 21:44 hours military time, which is 9:44 p.m.
Okay. And did she complete the incident report?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Did she indicate the name of the caller?
Yes.
And what's the name?
Nicole Simpson.
Okay. And did she indicate the address from which the call originated?
Yes.
And what address was that?
325 South Gretna Greenway.
And did she indicate anything in the comments area regarding the nature of the call?
Yes, it shows indicated a suspect description in the nature of the trouble.
Okay. What does it say exactly in the comments area? The court would like to take a look at the report. It is a rather unique sort of document, and actually it takes a qualified person like...
That's true. Well,
I'm not objecting.
I think we've seen a foundation for the first part at this point, haven't we?
Yes.
All right, why don't you proceed?
When was the second call received?
Approximately 21:54 hours.
Okay, so the first one was received at 21:44.
Yes.
That's 9:44 p.m.
Yes.
And the second call was received at 9:54 p.m.
Yes.
And which 911 operator received that second call?
I did.
Did the caller identify herself?
Yes, she did.
And did you have a conversation with that caller?
Yes.
Are 911 calls recorded?
Yes.
And was that call recorded?
Yes.
How many telephone calls from Nicole Brown Simpson did you receive that night?
1.
And how long did that call last?
If I remember correctly, it was approximately 14 or 15 minutes.
The events described on that incident log occurred on October 25, 1993. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you since had an occasion to listen to a recording of your conversation with Nicole Brown Simpson back on October 25, 1993?
Yes.
And you listened to that tape upstairs in my offices, is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, we have such a tape. It has been marked People's 21 for identification. May we play it for the jury?
All right, let me just ask this. Ms. Clark, do you have any timing problems at this point? Okay, play the tape.
Yeah, can you send someone to my house? What's the problem there? Well, my ex-husband or my husband just broke into my house, and he's ranting and raving. Now, he's just walked out in the front yard. Has he been drinking or anything? No, but he's crazy. Is he black, white, or Hispanic? Black. What's he wearing right now? Black pants and a golf shirt. What color shirt? I think it's black and white. You said he hasn't been drinking?
No.
Did he hit you? No.
Did you have a restraining order against him?
No.
What's your name?
Nicole Simpson,
Your address?
325 Gretna Green Way.
Is it a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Okay, we'll send police out.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone still in a domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Greenway, monitor comments, code incident 4221 or 825.
Emergency. Can you get someone over here now to 325 Gretna Green? He's back. Please.
Well, okay, what does he look like?
He's O.J. Simpson. I think you know his record. Could you just send somebody over here?
Okay, what is he doing there?
He just drove up again.
He just drove
somebody
up.
over?
Okay, wait a minute, what kind of car is he in?
He's in a white Bronco, but first of all, he broke the back door down to get in before.
Okay, wait a minute, what's your name?
Nicole Simpson.
Okay, is he the sportscaster or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Wait a minute, we're sending the police. What is he doing? Is he threatening you?
He's fucking going nuts.
Okay, has he threatened you in any way, or is he just harassing you?
You're going to hear him in a minute. He's about to come in again.
Okay, just stay on the line.
I don't want to stay on the line.
Just stay on the line so we can know what's going on till the police get there, okay? Okay, Nicole?
Uh-huh.
Just a moment. Does he have any weapons?
I don't know.
Okay.
He went home, now he's back. My kids are upstairs sleeping, and I don't want anything to happen.
Okay, just a moment. Is he on drugs or anything?
No.
Okay. Just stay on the line, just in case he comes in. I need to hear what's going on, all right?
Can you hear him outside?
Is he yelling?
Yep.
Okay. Has he been drinking?
No.
Okay. One fellow unit, additional on domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Greenway. The suspect has returned in a white Bronco. Monitor comments, incident 4221. Okay, Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
Is he still outdoors? Or
He's in the backyard.
He's in the backyard?
Screaming at my roommate about me and at me. Here.
Okay. Okay, what is he saying?
Oh, something about some guy I know and hookers and keys. And I started this shit before, and it's all my fault. And now what am I going to do? Get the police in on this? And whole thing.
Okay.
It's all my fault. I started this before. Brother. Oh, my kids exposed.
Okay. Has he hit you today or no?
No.
Okay, you don't need any paramedics or anything? Okay, you just want him to
Broke
leave.
my door. He broke the whole back door in.
And then he left and he came back?
And he came and he practically knocked my upstairs door down, but he pounded it, and then he screamed and hollered, and I tried to get him out of the bedroom because the kids were sleeping in there.
Okay.
And then he wanted somebody's phone number, and I gave him my phone book and put my phone book down to write down the phone number that he wanted, and then he took my phone book with all my stuff in it.
Okay, so basically you guys have just been arguing? Is he inside right now?
Yeah.
Okay, just a moment. Is he talking to you?
Yeah.
Are you locked in a room or something?
No, he can come right in. I'm not going where the kids are because the kids are...
You think he's going to hit you?
I don't know. I just...
Okay. Stay on the line. Don't hang it up, okay? What is he saying?
What?
What is he saying?
What the hell is that?
61, give me an open tack for, give me a tack frequency for this possible DPAs on,
Calling units of domestic violence at 30 Country 325 South Gretna Greenway is now too high. The suspect is now entered in the vicinity of confusing the lead. It's code too high. It's been 4221 RD 825 children. He's still yelling at you? Just stay on the line, okay? 8070 and 81, 8070 81, domestic violence, 325 South Gretna Greenway, 325 South Gretna Greenway, 8070 and 81, code 2 lines within 4221, RD 825. Is he upset with something that you did?
Oh, a long time ago. It always comes back.
from our caller,
Is your roommate talking to him?
No, I could talk. Listen to him.
I know. Does he have any weapons or anything with him right now? No. Okay. Where is he standing?
In the back doorway. In the house.
Okay.
Could you just please, OJ, could you please leave? Please leave.
Does he know you're on the phone with the police?
No.
Okay. Where are the kids at right now?
Up in my room.
Can they hear him yelling?
I don't know. The room's the only one that's quiet.
Is there someone up there with the kids?
No.
What is he saying now? Nicole?
Oh,
He's still on the line?
yeah.
You think he's still going to hit you?
I don't know. He's gonna leave. He just said that. He just said he ain't leaving.
Are you the only one in there with him?
Right now, yeah.
And he's talking to you?
And he's also talking to the guy that lives out back is just standing there.
Oh, okay.
He just came home.
Oh, okay. Is he arguing with him too? Or
Oh,
no?
absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nobody's arguing.
Yeah. Has this happened before or no?
Anytime.
Okay. The police should be on the way. This seems like a long time because it's kind of busy in that division right now. Regarding Gretna Greenway, the suspect is still there and yelling very loudly. Is he still arguing? Oh. Was someone knocking on your door?
No, that was him.
Oh, he was knocking on the door?
There's a locked bedroom, and he's wondering why.
Oh, okay. He's knocking on a locked door?
Yeah. You know what? Okay, that window above you is also open. Could you just go, please? Can I get off my phone?
You feel safe hanging up?
Oh, you're right.
You want to wait till the police get there?
Yeah.
Nicole? Is he still arguing with you? He's moved a little bit.
Just ignoring him.
Okay. But he doesn't know you're on.
Works best.
Okay. Are the kids still asleep?
Yeah, when they sleep, they're like rocks.
What part of the house is he in right now?
Downstairs?
Downstairs? And you're upstairs?
No, I'm downstairs in the kitchen. He's in the den. Now he's walking around. Down the kitchen.
police, Nicole?
No, but I will go out there right now.
Okay, you want to go out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang up.
Okay.
Darren, I believe that's the end of the tape.
Did you hear the police arriving in the tape?
Yes, I had the radio frequency on.
May the record reflect that Mr. Fairwell began the tape counter at 0 and is now
181.
During the conversation you had with Ms. Brown, did you ask her if this event or things like this had happened on other cases?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said yes.
Overruled.
Now, when the first call was received, was it given some type of priority in terms of how urgent the call was being considered by the 911 operator?
Yes.
And what priority code was it given at 9:44 p.m.?
It was given a code 2 priority, which is urgent but not life-threatening.
And was that priority code upgraded at some point?
Yes,
And who upgraded the priority of that call?
I did.
Okay. What did you upgrade it to?
I upgraded it to code 2 high, which is now potentially life-threatening.
And why did you do that?
She stated that he was not there, but he had returned, and she felt that she was in imminent danger. And so I made it life-threatening.
And did you have training?
Questions for Ms. Moore?
Just briefly, Ms. Moore. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And with regard to the tape we just heard, you listened to that tape on occasions before this afternoon, have you now?
Yes.
And prior to the day, when was the last time you listened to that tape?
Approximately 2 or 3 weeks ago.
And was that in Mr. Darden's office?
Yes.
Okay. And you, of course, listened to the tape that night, the night of October of 1993, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you made this determination of this call, and you continued to monitor it and talk to Ms. Nicole Simpson, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were able to ascertain during the course of that tape that at some point when she first started talking to you, she was upstairs in particularly in a bedroom or something like that? Is that correct?
I believe so.
Did you ascertain that at some point she left that room and came downstairs into the kitchen for her conversation?
Yes, maybe at the end when I asked her where was she.
And you were able to determine, were you not, that during this entire tape and during the entire episode, she was never struck by the gentleman who was in the background, is that right?
Yes.
And that at or about the time or shortly after the time that she came downstairs, were you aware that police arrived at the location?
Yes.
All right. And at one point during the tape, did she indicate that she wanted to get off the line, that she felt that she wanted to hang up the phone, is that correct?
Yes.
And that was prior to the arrival of the police?
Yes.
And during the course of the tape, the onset of the tape, you could hear the person in the background, and she told you that person was talking to her roommate or a male who lived in the back house, is that correct?
Yes.
So as you sat there listening, you basically heard the same things we heard and just carried on this conversation, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And at the time that the conversation ended, at that time you felt or you had information that the police had arrived, is that correct?
Yes.
You felt the situation was in hand at that point, is that correct?
Yes.
You'd never talked to Miss Nicole Brown Simpson before that time, had you?
No.
That was the first and only time?
Yes.
Thank you very kindly. I have nothing further.
Any redirect, Mr. Darden?
No redirect, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Moore, thank you very much for coming in. You're excused now. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except for the lawyers on the case. All right, thank you very much. Next witness. Yes, I just did. Sure. Thank you, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon at this time, and we will resume again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Please remember my admonition to you: don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case, have any contact with anybody, or allow yourself to be influenced or contacted by anybody on the outside. Have a pleasant evening, enjoy the movies, and we'll see you. Enjoy the movies, and the Flintstones wouldn't have been my pick, but okay. All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.